Boarding Pass. Boarding Pass. An M/M hockey romance. Arden Blackwell. Copyright 2026 Arden Blackwell. All rights reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written permission of the author, except for brief quotations in a book review. This is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places, and incidents are the product of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, events, or locales is entirely coincidental. First edition, 2026. For everyone who ever sat next to someone in silence and meant every word they didn't say. We loved with a love that was more than love. Edgar Allan Poe. Contents. Prologue. What my father taught me about ice. Chapter 1. 2 seasons of watching. Chapter 2. The geometry of proximity. Chapter 3. Columbus, Ohio, and other natural disasters. Chapter 4. What the storm decides. Chapter 5. Room 112. Chapter 6. The things I know how to say. Chapter 7. The almost. Chapter 8. What I almost did in Pittsburgh. Chapter 9. Buffalo, and the weight of being patient. Chapter 10. The hallway outside the restaurant. Chapter 11. What I decide to do with my feelings. Chapter 12. The silence I manufactured. Chapter 13. The rink at midnight. Chapter 14. All is lost. Chapter 15. The trade I didn't know was coming. Chapter 16. What he said and what I couldn't. Chapter 17. He shows up. Chapter 18. What I decline. Chapter 19. The management meeting. Chapter 20. What Derek Holt does with what he heard. Chapter 21. Game night. Chapter 22. The press conference. Chapter 23. What we actually are. Chapter 24. The window seat. Epilogue. 1 year later. Prologue. What my father taught me about ice. Sam. My father never hit me. I want to be clear about that. He coached me from the time I was 4 years old. Drove me to rinks at 5 in the morning in temperatures that cracked the windshield. Bought sticks he couldn't afford and taped them the way his father taught him and watched every single game I ever played from the time I was old enough to hold one. He loved me. I have never once questioned that. He just didn't leave any room. I was 16 the night I understand what I mean by that. We were driving home from a regional semifinal. I had scored the game winner with 11 seconds left, a wrister from the left circle, clean off the post and in, the kind of goal you dream about in your bed at night when you're a kid with a poster of Gretzky and a hockey stick you've taped so many times the blade is mostly tape. The home crowd was still loud in my ears when I climbed into the truck. My hands were still shaking from the adrenaline. I smelled like sweat and cold rubber and the specific pride that only comes from doing the one thing you were made to do. My dad started the truck. He turned on the radio. He pulled out of the parking lot. We drove 16 miles without speaking. I wasn't waiting for praise. I want to be clear about that too. I wasn't some kid desperate for his father's approval, sitting there with hollow eyes, needing to be told I was good. I knew I was good. I had known since I was 8. But I was waiting for something. Just something. A word. A hand on the shoulder. Anything to mark the distance between the rink and the rest of the night. He turned up the radio a little. We pulled into the driveway. He killed the engine. He sat there with both hands on the steering wheel, looking at the garage door, and I sat next to him and I thought, say it. I didn't know what it was. I still don't. Just say something that makes me feel like the person sitting next to you in this truck is real. Is seen. He said, get some sleep. You've got school tomorrow. He got out of the truck. I sat there alone in the cold cab and listened to the engine tick and I thought about Tyler Marsh, who was on my team and who I had thought about every day for 6 weeks with a specific, stomach-dropping quality I could not name and would not name for years, and I understood something in that moment that I couldn't have articulated then. Some doors were not going to be opened in this truck. Some doors were not going to be opened in this family. The way you survive that, I learned, is to stop standing near the door. Stop wanting it to open. Fill your hands with other things, sticks and skates and protein bars and stats and the clean, mechanical safety of a game with rules you understand. Be excellent at something no one can take from you. Be excellent at something that doesn't require you to be seen. I got very good at hockey. I got very good at not being seen. That was 10 years ago. I'm sitting in my locker stall now, skates on, jersey off, and the room around me is the noise it always is before a morning skate, sticks clattering, someone's music bleeding out of wireless earbuds, the equipment manager Gus arguing with our second-line center about shin pad sizing for the third time this week. It's the first week of preseason. The Minnesota Frost are 8 days from playing a game that matters. My legs feel good. My shot has been clean all week. There is nothing wrong. I'm watching Leo Vasquez laugh. He's across the room, standing in front of his stall with one shin pad on and one in his hand, and he's laughing at something Gus just said. I don't know what. I wasn't paying attention to Gus, and it's the kind of laugh that takes over his whole face. Eyes gone, head back, one hand slapping the locker door like the joke personally wronged him. He laughs like he's never been told not to. My chest does the thing it does. I look at my skate. I check the knot. The knot is fine. I check it again. Leo Vasquez is 25 years old and he plays right wing on my line and he is openly bisexual and entirely comfortable with that, the way some people are entirely comfortable in their own bodies, like the whole thing was never a question, like the answer was easy. I have known this about him for 2 seasons. I have known this about him since the day he walked into this locker room and introduced himself to the team with a handshake that went around the whole room and landed on me last, and he looked at me and said, "Callaway, I've seen your shot on film. I'm going to make you a lot of money this year." He was right. I skate until my legs burn and my lungs ache and there is no room in my body for anything except what I put there. It works. It always works. The trouble is, it stopped being enough about 8 months ago, and every morning I wake up and the first thing I think about is not the game. The first thing I think about is Leo Vasquez laughing. And I sit with that thought the way you sit with a crack in a wall you've been watching spread, carefully, from a distance, telling yourself it's still contained, telling yourself it hasn't reached anything structural yet. Telling yourself the whole thing isn't about to come down. Chapter 1. 2 seasons of watching. LEO. Here is what I know about Sam Callaway that nobody else on this team knows. He takes his coffee black, no sugar, and he holds the cup with both hands even when it's not that hot. He hates the smell of artificial coconut, not regular coconut, specifically the fake kind, the kind in cheap sunscreen and certain protein bars, and if he catches a whiff of it in the locker room he will locate the source and move it without saying a word to anyone. He sleeps with his phone face down. Not face down on a table. Face down in his hand, like he fell asleep holding it and couldn't let go. I know this because we've shared enough hotel rooms on road trips that I've stopped counting, and every time, without fail, his phone is face down by morning. I know he's gay the same way you know a song before you know its name. Something in the key of it. Something in the way certain silences land. He's never said it. I've never asked. That's not something I'm proud of, exactly, but it's also not something I'm going to push. I've seen what pushing looks like. I've been on the receiving end of it. It doesn't go well. So I wait. I am very good at waiting. Ask anyone on this team. I'll sit in a defensive zone for 4 minutes blocking passing lanes without throwing myself at the puck. Patience is a skill. Sam Callaway is worth being patient for. That doesn't mean it's easy. 3 weeks into our 3rd season together and the Minnesota Frost look good. Not great yet, we dropped a home game last Tuesday that we should have won, and our second-line center Marcus Webb is carrying a tweaked groin that he keeps insisting is fine in the specific way that means it is absolutely not fine, but good. The kind of good that has legs. Our line is a different story. Our line is not good. Our line is, and I say this without any ego because the numbers back it up, the best line combination in the conference right now. Sam at left wing, me at right, and our centerman Danny Kowalski between us. We have more combined points through 3 weeks than any other forward trio in the division. Coach Peterson mentioned it in film review on Monday the way he mentions things he's pleased about, which is briefly, flatly, and immediately followed by something we did wrong so we don't get comfortable. The reason we work is simple and also complicated. Sam and I, on the ice, do not need to talk. That's not me being poetic. I mean it literally. We have been on this line long enough that I know where he's going before he goes there, and he knows where I'll be before I know it myself. It's the kind of thing that takes years to build with most line mates. We built it in about 4 months and neither of us has ever discussed how. The complicated part is that off the ice, we are what I privately call 98% friends. Not 100. Not even 99. 2% is the gap. It lives in the things we don't say, in the pauses just a beat too long, in the way Sam Calloway will look at me sometimes when he thinks I'm not looking, careful and measuring, like he's doing math he's not ready to share the answer to. I clock it every time. I don't say anything. I add it to the pile and I wait. Practice today is 40 minutes of systems work followed by a power play drill that Coach Peterson designed specifically to torture us, and it's the kind of session where you finish and your legs feel like borrowed equipment. The ice is good, fresh cut, the surface still holding the cold from the Zamboni pass, and the sound is sharp and clean, blades and pucks and the flat percussion of passes finding sticks. Sam and I are running a give-and-go drill at the far end when he does the thing. The thing is this, he passes the puck to the spot where I'm going to be instead of the spot where I am. He doesn't look at me first. He just reads the angle, reads my stride, and puts the puck exactly where it needs to be, a half second before I'm there to receive it. It's a nothing pass in the context of practice. Routine. I still feel it in my chest the same way I always do. I put the puck on net, miss wide by 2 feet because I'm thinking about the pass instead of the shot, and Danny Kowalski says from center ice, "Vasquez, my grandmother shoots better than that." "Your grandmother cheats on her slap shot and you know it," I call back. I hear Sam make a sound, not quite a laugh, but the near relative of one. He's already skating back to the blue line. He doesn't look at me. He never looks at me right after I make him almost laugh. I've noticed that too. I notice everything. That's the problem. After practice, I find him in the hallway outside the weight room, bag over his shoulder, protein bar in one hand. He's reading the label on it. I don't know why he reads the label every time. He has been eating the same protein bars for 2 years. I think he does it to have something to look at that isn't the room. I lean against the wall next to him. "That's the almond butter one," I say. "It's the same as last Tuesday." The sodium content changed. Nobody's sodium content changed. He turns the bar over. Points to the label. 210 milligrams. It was 200 last month. I look at the label. He is correct. I do not know how he carries this information in his head. "That's the kind of thing you know," I say. "It adds up." "What adds up?" "Sodium." I look at him. He's already looking at the label again. He has a jaw that belongs on a man who was built specifically to frustrate other people, straight and certain, and there's a small scar through his left eyebrow from a high stick in his second year that I have spent more time thinking about than any scar has the right to expect. I pull my own bar out of my bag. "Trade you." "Mine's 200 flat." He looks at it. Looks at his. Takes my bar without a word and gives me his. It's such a Sam Calloway exchange, completely transactional on the surface, completely something else underneath, that I almost laugh. "How's your shoulder?" I ask. "Fine." "You were favoring it in the last drill." I wasn't. "Your crossover on the left side is about 4% shorter than usual when your shoulder's bothering you." He's quiet for a second. He takes a bite of the bar. "It's fine," he says. "Okay. It was tweaked last week. It's fine now." I didn't say it wasn't. He looks at me then. Just briefly. That careful, measuring look. The math he's not sharing. "You track my crossovers," he says. "I track everything that might affect my shooting lane," I say. "It's called being a good line mate." He takes another bite. He looks at the wall. I look at the wall too and eat my protein bar, and we stand there in the hallway like two men waiting for something neither of them will name, and it's fine, it's always fine. This is what 2 years of 98% friendship looks like, close enough to feel the heat, far enough to pretend you don't. He finishes the bar. He folds the wrapper into a precise square, which is a thing he does, and puts it in his pocket rather than dropping it on the floor, which is also a thing he does. His hands are calloused and large, and I have thought about them at least once a week for 8 months, and I will not be elaborating on that. Good practice, I say. The power play still needs work. It always needs work. Good practice. He looks at me again. The faintest thing moves across his face, not a smile, but the shadow of one, the bones of one. Yeah, he says. Good practice. He pushes off the wall and heads toward the exit. I watch him go, which is my own specific brand of self-inflicted damage that I have not yet managed to cure myself of. The team meeting that afternoon is a logistics session. Coach Peterson stands at the front of the room with a whiteboard and the expression of a man who has been organizing professional athletes for 22 years and has made peace with the fact that some of them will still show up to the wrong airport gate. Road trip, he says. Columbus, Pittsburgh, Buffalo. You leave Thursday morning. 5 days. Tight schedule, so I need everyone managing their sleep and their bodies. Callaway, that means your shoulder gets looked at before we board. Sam, 3 seats to my left, says nothing. He writes something in the small notebook he keeps in his jacket pocket. I don't know what he writes. I've never asked. Some things belong to people. Coach goes through the travel logistics, departure time, hotel information, practice schedules at the away rinks. He hands the floor to our travel coordinator Jenny, who is the most organized person I've ever met and communicates entirely in the tone of a woman who has stopped being surprised by anything. Hotel assignments are finalized for Columbus and Pittsburgh, Jenny says. Buffalo had a block booking issue, so we're working through it. You'll have your room details in the team app by Wednesday night. Any questions come to me, not to each other, because the last time you sorted it among yourselves I had 3 people without rooms and 2 people with 3 rooms each. She looks at Danny Kowalski specifically when she says the last part. That was one time, Danny says. It was also last trip, Jenny says. The room does what rooms do when Jenny makes a point, which is go briefly quiet and then dissolve into the low buzz of men checking their phones and deciding not to argue. I look at the travel schedule in the app. Columbus Thursday, Pittsburgh Saturday, Buffalo Sunday. 5 days in close quarters with the same 30 people I eat and skate and breathe with every day. My stomach does something it has no business doing. Something that has nothing to do with the road trip and everything to do with the specific way close quarters work with certain people. The way proximity strips down the things you've been keeping organized. The way hotel hallways at midnight feel like neutral territory where regular rules don't always apply. I look at Sam. He's already looking at his notebook. I tell myself it's just a road trip. 5 days. Cities I've been to 20 times. Games I know how to play. I tell myself I'm very good at waiting. The thing I don't tell myself, the thing I almost never let myself think directly, is that I have been waiting for 2 seasons and the patience that felt sustainable in year 1 is starting to develop cracks, fine ones, hairline, the kind that don't look like anything until the pressure changes. The pressure, I have a feeling, is about to change. Chapter 2. The Geometry of Proximity. Sam. I have rules. Not the kind you write down. The kind you learn to live inside until they don't feel like rules anymore, they just feel like the shape of things. The way a room has walls. You stop thinking about the walls. They're just where the room ends. Rule 1. I don't talk about myself unless someone asks a specific question. Rule 2. I don't answer specific questions if I can reroute them. Rule 3. I keep my hands busy. Tape on a stick. A notebook. Protein bar wrappers folded into squares. Hands with something in them don't shake. Rule 4 is the one I never say out loud. Rule 4 has Leo Vasquez's name in it. I've been giving him the window seat for 8 months. Every flight. I board first, I'm always one of the first 3 on the plane, another habit I've built so deep I don't question it, and I take the aisle, and when Leo gets on and drops into the window seat next to me he never says thank you because he doesn't know it's a thing I'm doing. As far as he knows I prefer the aisle. As far as anyone on this team knows I prefer the aisle. I don't prefer the aisle. I prefer watching Leo press his forehead against the cold window glass when we're above the clouds and the light changes color and he goes quiet in the way he only goes quiet in the air, not sad, just still. Like the altitude turned something down in him. I prefer seeing his profile against the sky. I prefer not to think about what that preference means. So I take the aisle, and it costs me nothing except the window I give up, and it buys me nothing except the ability to watch him without watching him, which is a distinction I've gotten very good at maintaining. The road trip is in 2 days. I know this because Jenny's travel documents landed in my app at 9 p.m. on Wednesday the way she said they would, and I read through them the way I read everything, systematically, looking for variables. Hotel logistics, ice times, distances between venues. I treat every road trip like a project with components I can manage. Sleep schedule, nutrition timing, recovery protocols. If I control the components, the road trip controls nothing. I opened the Columbus hotel assignment and I read my name and then I read the room number and then I read the name next to mine and I stopped. Room 214, Callaway, S/Vasquez, L. I read it twice. I put my phone down. I picked it up and read it again. Jenny's note beneath it said, Columbus block had a double booking error, we lost 2 solo rooms. Pairs assigned by line combination for compatibility. Any issues, contact me before 8 a.m. Thursday. Compatibility. That's one word for it. I put my phone face down on my nightstand, which is where it ends up every night for reasons I don't examine, and I lay in the dark and I thought, it's fine. It's a hotel room. We've shared hotel rooms before on overflow trips. This is the same thing. 2 beds, the same square footage, a wall between us and the rest of the world. It's fine. I said that twice before I fell asleep. I said it twice because once wasn't enough. The morning before we leave, I'm in the weight room at 7 a.m. when I hear Derek Holt's voice in the hallway. Derek is our starting defenseman. He is 31 years old and has been in this league long enough that he considers himself an authority on how things work, which means he says things with the confidence of a man who has never had to wonder if the room agreed with him. Usually I tune him out. He exists in a frequency I've learned to filter the way you filter crowd noise, present, loud, not useful. But then I hear the name he says. Brandon Mercer. Second line center for the Colorado Ice. Recently out, made a statement 2 weeks ago, quiet and direct, no drama, just a man saying a true thing about himself in public. I'd read it 3 times on my phone. Alone, at 11 p.m., with the door locked. I'm not saying anything against him personally, Derek says, and I know from those 8 words that whatever follows is going to be the something against him. I'm just saying it changes the room, you know. You start wondering what guys are thinking. I don't know who he's talking to in the hallway. I don't move. I'm sitting at the cable machine with a weight I'm not pulling. Locker rooms are about trust, Derek says. That's all I'm saying. A pause. Then Marcus Webb's voice, lower, Brandon Mercer's save percentage is better than ours. I trust that. It's not a confrontation. Marcus isn't the confrontation type. But it's something, a small rock thrown into standing water, and Derek makes a sound that's not agreement but isn't argument either, and then their footsteps move on down the hallway and I'm alone in the weight room with my hands on a cable handle I forgot I was holding. My jaw aches. I realize I've had my teeth together too hard. I ease off. I breathe. This is what the math looks like for someone like me. Not violence, not legislation, not anything dramatic. Just that hallway. Just Derek's voice in that specific tone, the one that thinks it's being reasonable. Just the silence from every other person in earshot, not agreement, but not the opposite of agreement either, and the understanding, again, like a wall you keep walking into in the dark, that the room has an unspoken consensus you were not consulted about. I pull the cable. I complete the set. I put the weight down clean. I do not say anything to Derek Holt. I don't say anything to anyone. This is not weakness. I have told myself this for years and I will keep telling myself because the alternative is a conversation I cannot have in this building with these people on this team when my contract is up in 14 months and my father watches every game on a stream from Manitoba and has opinions about what kind of man his son is that I have never once corrected. I pick up my water bottle. I take a drink. My hand is steady. I am very good at steady. At noon I'm packing my bag for the trip when my phone buzzes. It's Jenny. Travel update, Columbus rooms confirmed. Check your app. Departure 6 a.m. Thursday, Gate C14. Don't be late. Kowalski, I mean you. I open the app. Room 214. Both our names. Still there. I look at it for longer than I need to. Down the hall I can hear Leo's music coming from his apartment. We live 4 doors apart in the same building, which is either convenient or the universe's specific sense of humor, I haven't decided. Something with bass that I don't recognize. He changes his music by mood in a way I've catalogued without meaning to. Loud and driving when he's energized. Slow and quiet when he's thinking. Right now it's something in between. I close the app. I tell myself, it's 1 room. 2 beds. 2 days in Columbus and then separate rooms in Pittsburgh. 72 hours maximum of sharing a space, which we have done before without incident, because I am a professional and I have rules and my rules exist specifically for rooms like this one and situations like this one and people like Leo Vasquez, who laughs with his whole face and knows my crossover mechanics and hands me back a protein bar without making it mean anything. It's fine. I zip my bag. I say it again, quieter this time, the way you say something when you're trying to make it true rather than confirm it is. It's fine. Outside my window, the first snow of the season is starting to fall. I watch it for a second. Then I close the blinds. Chapter 3. Columbus, Ohio, and other natural disasters. LEO. The room has 2 beds, 1 window, and a heating unit that makes a sound like a man clearing his throat every 4 minutes. I know it's every 4 minutes because I counted. Sam has been standing next to his bed since we got here, bag on the floor, jacket still on, looking at the room the way he looks at film, methodically, like he's identifying problems before they happen. He checked the lock on the door when we came in. Then checked the deadbolt. Then checked the window latch, which is a thing I have never once thought to do in a hotel room in my entire life but which I found, for reasons I'm not going to inspect too closely, unreasonably endearing. Beds are the same size, I say. Yeah. So there's no strategic advantage to either one. He looks at me. I wasn't thinking about strategic advantage. You were absolutely thinking about strategic advantage. A pause. He picks up his bag and puts it on the bed closer to the door. I take this as my answer and drop my bag on the other one. Bathroom's on your side, I say. It's on neither side. It's at the end. It's marginally closer to your side. By about 2 feet. 2 feet is meaningful at 3 in the morning. He does the thing where he almost smiles and stops himself. I have catalogued every version of Sam Calloway almost smiling, and this one, the one where something quick moves through his eyes before his face resets, is the one that gets me every time. Not that I'm telling him that. I unzip my bag and pull out my toiletries case and my charger and the 3-pack of water bottles I carry on every trip because hotel tap water tastes like the decision-making process that designed hotels. I put one on my nightstand. I put one on Sam's nightstand without asking. He looks at it. Doesn't say thank you. Picks it up and opens it. This is also the most intimate we ever get. By 9 o'clock we've both showered and the room smells like 2 different brands of soap and Sam is sitting on his bed with the TV remote in his hand flipping through channels with the efficiency of a man who already knows he won't find anything worth watching but needs to complete the search anyway. I'm on my bed with my legs stretched out, texting my mom back about Thanksgiving logistics, when I notice the water glass. I had poured myself a glass of water from the bathroom tap, hotel tap water rule suspended due to the absence of my backup bottles, which I had forgotten were already opened, and left it on the desk. I'd also left the one from the nightstand on the dresser when I moved it to plug in my phone. And there was the opened water bottle by the TV where I'd set it when I came back from brushing my teeth. Sam is looking at the 3 separate water vessels with an expression I can only describe as diplomatic suffering. I know, I say. I didn't say anything. You have a face. Everyone has a face. Yours is specifically saying something right now about water glass placement. He looks at me. He looks at the glasses. He looks back at the TV. I'm not going to comment on how other people live their lives. That's the most commenting thing you could have said. He changes the channel. A nature documentary fills the screen, birds, some kind of marsh, a narrator with a British accent describing migration patterns with the gravity of a man narrating a war. Sam stops flipping. Okay, I say. Birds. Sure. It was this or home renovation. I love home renovation. No, you don't. I love it a little. He puts the remote down. The British narrator tells us about the bar-tailed godwit, which apparently flies 11,000 kilometers without stopping, which the narrator seems to consider impressive and which I consider an argument against migration as a lifestyle. They don't eat, Sam says. During the flight. What? Bar-tailed godwits. They don't eat during migration. Their organs shrink to make room for fuel storage. I turn to look at him. Their organs shrink. Temporarily. Their organs shrink temporarily so they can fly 11,000 kilometers. Yes. And you know this because I read. You read about birds whose organs shrink. I read about a lot of things. I stare at him. He's watching the TV completely seriously, the remote resting on his knee, and something about the totality of that. Sam Calloway, the most controlled man I have ever met, sitting on a hotel bed in Columbus watching birds with his bar-tailed godwit knowledge fully loaded and ready to deploy, punches straight through something in my chest and I start laughing. Not politely. Not the kind of laugh you do when something's mildly funny. The kind that takes your whole body, that folds you forward, that comes with the embarrassing addition of a sound I will not describe. Sam turns to look at me with an expression of profound bewilderment. Their organs, I manage. Their organs shrink. That's a real biological process. I know it's real, that's why it's funny. It's not funny, it's... Sam, I wipe my eye. I am not proud of this. Sam, you just casually had that information. You had it in there. Ready. Something shifts in his face. The bewilderment cracks at the corner and for one completely unguarded second, 1 second that I know I am going to replay later tonight when I'm staring at the ceiling, Sam Calloway laughs. Real and sudden and entirely uncontrolled, his head dropping forward, one hand coming up to press against his mouth like he's trying to catch it before it gets out all the way. It gets out all the way. It lasts maybe 4 seconds. Then it's gone and he's got his face back and he's looking at the TV again with his jaw set like he's daring me to comment on what just happened. I don't comment. I can't. There's something in my chest that has shifted sideways and hasn't moved back, the way furniture sounds when it crosses a room above you, a scrape, a new position, permanent. I look at the birds on the screen. I think, I am in serious trouble. The weather alert comes in at 10:47. I know the exact time because Sam's phone lights up first and he picks it up from the nightstand, face up, I notice, which is not his habit, and he reads it, and the expression that moves across his face is the specific one that means something just got harder. Flight alert, he says. I check my own phone. The airline app has sent the same thing. Winter storm warning, Columbus to Pittsburgh corridor. Current delays expected. 6 a.m. departure under review. Under review, I say. That's the polite version of cancelled. Sam puts his phone down. Face down this time. Back to normal. He leans back against the headboard and looks at the ceiling and I watch his chest rise and fall once, slowly, the way it does when he's making the internal adjustment from plan A to plan B without letting the frustration out where anyone can see it. Team chat's going to be loud in about 20 minutes, I say. Already is. I look at my phone. He's right. Danny Kowalski has sent 4 messages in the team chat. Marcus has sent one that just says called it. Our goalie Petrov has sent a photo of the window from his room showing nothing but white. The coaching staff channel has gone briefly active and then gone quiet in the way that means adults are having a separate conversation that will become instructions for us shortly. My phone buzzes with a text from my mom asking about Thanksgiving again. I put it face down on the nightstand, which I realize immediately I've never done before, which I am not going to think about right now. We'll know by morning, Sam says. Yeah. Get some sleep. You going to sleep? A pause. Yeah. He reaches over and turns off the lamp on his nightstand. I reach over and turn off mine. The room goes dark except for the orange glow of the parking lot lights coming through the gap in the curtains, and the heating unit clears its throat, and the British narrator is still talking about birds on the TV until Sam finds the remote and turns it off. Silence. The kind that's not empty. The kind that has things in it. I'm staring at the ceiling thinking about bar-tailed godwits and whether it hurts when your organs shrink and whether that's a metaphor for something, and I've almost talked myself out of the metaphor, when Sam's phone rings. The screen lights up. I can see it from my bed, face up, the way he left it, and I can see the name on it. Dad. Sam looks at the screen for 3 rings. Then he picks it up, swings his legs off the bed, and heads for the door. He eases it open and steps into the hallway and pulls it almost shut behind him, leaving a sliver of light from the corridor cutting across the carpet. I don't try to hear the conversation. I'm not that person. But the door isn't fully closed, and hotel hallways carry sound, and what comes through the gap isn't words, it's the shape of them. Sam's voice from the other side has a different quality than the one he uses in this room. Not quieter, exactly. Flatter. Careful. Like he's pressing each word down to make sure it doesn't go too high or too low. Like someone moving through a space they know is full of things that break and not wanting to disturb anything. I have heard Sam Calloway talk to reporters, coaches, teammates, equipment managers, nutritionists, the GM, 2 team owners, and a very confused room service attendant in Pittsburgh who accidentally brought up someone else's order. I know his voice in all those rooms. I have never heard him sound the way he sounds in that hallway. Not afraid. Something quieter than fear. Something that has been practiced until it doesn't hurt the way it used to. I stare at the ceiling. The heating unit clears its throat. I think about the water glasses I left in 3 different places and how Sam looked at them and didn't say anything. I think about the way he caught his own laugh tonight like it was something that had gotten loose. I think about his organs, not the Godwit kind, and how much room there is inside a person that no one ever gets to see. The hallway light cuts across the carpet. I wait. Chapter 4. What the storm decides. Sam. The flight is cancelled at 5:18 a.m. I know this because I was already awake. I'd been awake since 3, which is not unusual for me on road trips, something about the different air, different walls, the heating unit that cleared its throat every 4 minutes all night like a reminder that I was not in my own space. I'd been lying there in the dark, phone face down, listening to Leo breathe. Which is not something I'm going to explain or justify because there is no explanation or justification that doesn't make it worse than what it was, which was simply a quiet room and a person in it who breathes evenly when they sleep, like sleeping is something that comes naturally to them, like they're not carrying anything that keeps them from going under all the way. The airline app buzzes at 5:18. Flight cancelled. Rebooking options loading. I sit up. Check the team chat. 5 messages from Coach Peterson's assistant that had come in over the last hour, the last one sent at 5:10 a.m., bus to Pittsburgh departs hotel at 7 a.m. Storm is south of the I-71 corridor. Drive will take approximately 4 hours with conditions. Pack for the bus. I look at Leo's bed. He's on his back, one arm over his face, completely still. He sleeps the way he does everything, with his whole body committed to it. I get up quiet and start packing. The bus leaves at 7. 23 players and 8 staff in 2 coach buses, and the snow is already thick enough that the hotel parking lot looks like something erased, no lines, no edges, just white pressing in from every direction. The sky is the color of old ice. I sit next to Leo on the bus. This requires no decision. We always sit together on buses the same way we always sit together on planes. It's a thing that has never been discussed and has therefore never been questioned, by either of us or anyone else. Danny Kowalski takes the seats behind us and falls asleep before we're out of the parking lot. Marcus Webb has headphones on and a protein bar and the expression of a man who has made peace with whatever's coming. The highway is fine for the first 30 miles. Then it isn't. I watch it happen gradually, which is worse than if it had happened all at once. The snow that had been falling at an angle starts falling straight down and heavy. The plows haven't caught up with the accumulation. The bus slows. Then slows again. The driver, a compact man named Ray who has been driving the Frosts Away trips for 6 years and has the demeanor of someone who considers weather a personal insult, is on his radio. Coach Peterson comes down the aisle at mile 42. We're pulling off at the next exit, he says. Conditions are getting worse and we're not pushing it. Storm's not moving the direction they said it would. Around me the bus does what buses full of professional athletes do when plans change, a low, collective grumble that has no real heat in it, because everyone knows this is not a decision being made at them, it's just the situation. Danny wakes up and says, "Are we there?" to no one in particular. Petrov looks out the window with the expression of a Russian man who has seen worse weather and is not impressed. Leo, next to me, stretches his arms above his head and says, "Well, this is definitely fine." "It's fine," I say. "That's the second time you've said that in 3 days." I look at him. "I keep track," he says. We pull into a rest stop outside Pickerington. 2 buildings, a parking lot, a gas station, and a subway that is open despite everything and is serving a county road crew with the efficiency of people who understand that the world does not stop eating during a blizzard. The bus parks and most of the team either stays inside or heads to the subway with the energy of men who have identified the one positive variable in this situation. I get off the bus. I'm not sure why. I told myself it was for air, but the air is 22 degrees and full of snow, which is not what most people mean when they say they need air. I stood at the bottom of the bus steps and looked at the parking lot and the white field beyond it and the way the snow was moving in long diagonal sheets across the ground, low and fast, like it had somewhere to be. I heard footsteps behind me on the bus steps. "You came outside," Leo said. "Yes." "On purpose?" "Yes." He came to stand beside me. He had his jacket on but no hat, and within about 30 seconds his hair had snow in it, which he didn't appear to notice or care about. He looked at the field. He put his hands in his pockets. We stood there. The snow fell. The rest stop had a fluorescent light above the entrance that buzzed and flickered, and the sound of the road crew inside the subway was muffled to nothing, and it was just the 2 of us and the storm and the specific quality of silence that a heavy snow creates, not quiet, exactly, because snow has a sound, but a sound that absorbs other sounds, that makes the world smaller and the space between 2 people in it larger, or maybe closer, I can't decide which. "You never talk about yourself," Leo said. Not an accusation. Just a fact, offered into the snow. "I talk," I said. "You narrate." He glanced at me. "You'll tell me exactly what happened in a game, play by play, correct to the second. You'll tell me the sodium content of a protein bar. You'll tell me about bar-tailed godwits." He looked back at the field. "But you don't talk about yourself." I stood there with the snow on my shoulders and I had nothing. I went looking for the words I usually reach for in this situation, the reroute, the redirect, the flat and sensible deflection that closes doors without slamming them, and I couldn't locate them. The storm had done something to the room where I keep those. Rearranged things. "It's different," he said. "Quieter. Not pushing. Just naming it." The snow fell. I looked at the field and thought about my father's truck and the radio and the 16 miles of silence, and I thought about Derek Holt in the hallway, and I thought about the name Leo said in his sleep once, not mine, the other one, the guy from his college team he's never fully told me about, and I thought about the profile of Leo's face against the airplane window, every flight, the one I gave up the window seat to be able to see. I didn't say any of it. I said, "You've got snow in your hair." Leo looked at me for a second. Then he looked up at the sky, directly into the falling snow, eyes open. He said, like the sky had confirmed something he'd suspected. He reached up and knocked the snow from his hair with one hand. Some of it landed on my jacket. He didn't apologize. I didn't move away from it. We stood there another 5 minutes before Coach Peterson's voice came from the bus door, "Vasquez. Callaway. Inside." I turned to follow, and that's when I saw him, a man at the far edge of the parking lot near a gray sedan, jacket up around his chin, phone raised. Not pointed at the subway. Pointed at us. I almost stopped walking. I didn't stop walking. Media, I thought. Or tourist. Or someone killing time. The parking lot was a public space. We were 2 hockey players standing in the snow. It was nothing. I got back on the bus. I sat back in my seat. It was nothing. The motel is called the Compass Inn, which I know because the sign outside has a compass rose on it and the N is missing, so it says CO Pass INN, which Danny Kowalski finds deeply funny and will mention at least 4 more times before we're all inside. Jenny has the logistics managed with her usual compressed competence. She's already on the phone with the motel manager, already blocking rooms, already working down the list. The coaching staff goes first, then players 2 per room, assigned by line combination because that's the template she already built and she's not rebuilding it in a parking lot during a blizzard. Calloway and Vasquez, she calls. I don't look at Leo. Leo makes a small sound next to me that might be amusement or might be something else entirely. I don't look at him to find out which. Room 112, Jenny says, and hands me a key card. The old-fashioned kind, a physical key on a plastic fob with a compass rose on it, because the compass in is not a place that has updated its key technology in some time. End of the ground floor. Heat's on. If it goes out, there's an extra blanket in the closet. I take the key. I don't say, this is the second time in 3 days. I don't say, I have been giving you the window seat for 8 months because I cannot stop myself from doing kind things for you in ways I can pretend are nothing. I don't say, I stood in the snow with you just now and you said I narrate instead of talk and you were right, you are completely right, and I don't know what to do with someone who sees the architecture of what I do. I say, thank you, Jenny. I pick up my bag. I walk toward room 112. Behind me, Leo's footsteps follow, and the snow is still falling, and the CO Pass INN sign flickers once in the wind, and somewhere down the road a plow is going somewhere it needs to be. Chapter 5. Room 112. LEO. The room is smaller than the one in Columbus. Meaningfully smaller. Like someone took a regular hotel room and left it in the dryer too long. 2 beds with roughly 18 inches between them, a dresser that's also a TV stand, a bathroom door that opens inward and hits the corner of the nearest bed if you're not paying attention, and a window that looks directly into the side of the motel's ice machine shed. The heating works. There's a Bible in the nightstand drawer because there's always a Bible in the nightstand drawer, and a local takeout menu that has a water stain on the pizza section, and a small laminated card telling us about checkout time and a continental breakfast that starts at 7 and ends at 9 and features, according to the card, assorted pastries and hot beverages. I love it. I genuinely love it. Not in a pretending to love it way, not in a making the best of it way, but in the genuine way that comes from being someone who grew up in a house that was always warm and loud and where his mother thought an inconvenience was just an adventure that hadn't told you its name yet. Sam stands in the doorway for a moment with his bag and the specific expression of a man taking a tactical assessment of a room that has significantly fewer tactical options than he'd like. It's cozy, I say. It's 12 feet by 14. That's a very cozy size. He steps inside. He puts his bag on the far bed, closer to the window this time instead of the door, which I note because Sam Calloway does not vary his habits without reason, and the reason here is probably that the window overlooks the ice machine shed and therefore has the least interesting view, and he's giving me the door side, which has the marginally less depressing view of the parking lot. He would die before he acknowledged doing this. I'm going to find out if there's a pizza place that delivers out here, I say. In a blizzard. Some people are committed to their work. I pull out my phone and open the takeout menu's pizza section and dial the number for a place called Sal's that lists its operating hours as when we're here. It rings 4 times and a man picks up and says, yeah. Do you deliver? I ask. Where to? Compass Inn on Route 40. A pause. That's like 2 miles. Is that a yes or a no? Another pause. What do you want? I look at Sam. Large pepperoni. Peppers. No peppers. Large pepperoni, I say into the phone. 45 minutes. Cash. Perfect. I hang up. I look at Sam. See. Committed. He sits on his bed and takes off his shoes and lines them up beside the bed with the toes pointing the same direction, which is a thing he does, and then he sits back against the headboard and picks up the TV remote and I watch him go through the same process as last night, systematic channel survey, no real expectation of finding anything, just the need to complete the search. This time there are 3 channels. A local news broadcast currently covering the storm with a meteorologist who looks deeply, personally betrayed by what's happening. An infomercial. And a nature channel showing a documentary about migratory birds. Sam stops. I look at him. Is that? Different birds, he says. These are Arctic terns. How do you know already? The narrator said it. I listen. The narrator did say it. I was already making a joke and missed the information. This is, I think, a fundamental difference between us that I find either maddening or completely right, and I can't decide which. I get up and put my charger in the wall, and I put a water glass on the dresser, and then I take the extra blanket from the closet Jenny mentioned because the room is warm enough, but the kind of warm that makes you want a blanket anyway, the kind that's more comfort than temperature, and I toss half of it to Sam's bed without asking. He looks at it. Doesn't say anything. Pulls it across his lap. I sit back on my bed. The Arctic terns on the screen are doing something remarkable with wind currents. The motel is quiet in the specific way that motels away from cities are quiet, no traffic, no sirens, just the storm outside pressing against the window and the low voice of the narrator and the heating unit working. I look at the window. Out there, somewhere past the ice machine shed, the snow is still falling. The rest of the team is down the hall in their own small rooms. Tomorrow we'll figure out how to get to Pittsburgh. Right now there's nothing to figure out, and nowhere to be, in this room is 12 feet by 14 and has everything and nothing in it. Tell me something, I say. Sam looks at me. About what? Anything. Something I don't know. A pause. He looks at the TV. Arctic terns migrate from the Arctic to the Antarctic. Round trip. That's about 71,000 kilometers a year. That's a bird fact. You said anything. I meant something about you. He's quiet. The narrator talks about wind patterns. Outside, the storm does what it wants. I can't parallel park, Sam says. I look at him. He's still watching the TV. His face is neutral. You cannot parallel park. Not well. Sam Calloway, who can put a puck on a moving target from 40 feet at game speed, cannot parallel park. The puck doesn't fight back. I laugh. Not the full thing from last night, but a real one, and Sam's mouth does the corner thing again, the almost thing, and we sit with it. Then I say, because I'm tired and the room is small and the snow outside has a way of making things feel more contained than they usually are, I had a boyfriend. In college. Sam doesn't move. His hands are still on the blanket. His name was Caleb. He was on my team. I look at the ceiling. He told me he loved me for about 4 months. Cooked for me. Came to my family's place for Christmas. The whole thing. I pause. Then one day he just decided he didn't. Packed up the word like it was a rental he was done with. Told me he wasn't, that he'd been confused, and that he was sorry, and that he hoped we could still be good teammates. The narrator says something about flight patterns. I'm not listening to him anymore. We were good teammates, I say. We were fine. But I learned something from it. About what it costs to love somebody who hasn't decided yet who they are. You don't come out of that the same. Sam is looking at the TV. He hasn't moved. But his jaw is working, that small, tight movement, the one he makes when he's processing something he's not going to say out loud. I've seen it after hard hits. I've seen it after difficult calls by officials. I've seen it in the hallway outside the weight room 3 days ago when he was sitting with something I wasn't supposed to know he was sitting with. I'm not looking at him directly. I'm looking at the ceiling. I say, anyway. Leaving it where it is. Not asking for anything from it. Just putting it in the room. The Arctic terns reach the Antarctic on screen. The narrator sounds relieved. The pizza comes 38 minutes later, delivered by a teenager in a car that looks held together by optimism, who says, "Crazy night, huh?" while I pay him in the cash I found in the bottom of my bag. I tip him $20 because anyone driving in this for pizza deserves a $20 tip. Sam and I eat on our respective beds, the pizza box open on the dresser between us, and watch the birds finish their migration and begin the journey back north. At some point I put my empty water glass on the floor beside the bed, which I can feel Sam noticing from across the room without looking up. I'm almost asleep when he says it. Quiet. The way he says everything that costs him something. I'm sorry that happened to you. I open my eyes. I look at the ceiling. He's not looking at me. I can tell without turning my head. He's looking at the TV or the wall or the middle distance that Sam Calloway uses when he's saying something real and needs the room to be facing a different direction. You deserved better than that, he says. I lie there. The heating unit clears its throat. The storm presses at the window. I stare at the ceiling and I think, That is the most personal thing he has said to me in 2 years and 2 months, and he is not looking at me when he says it, and his voice sounds like something he found at the bottom of a very deep drawer, and I don't know what to do with it except hold it carefully so it doesn't break. Sam, I say. Yeah. Thank you. He doesn't answer. The birds on the screen are heading north again, back to the beginning, completing the circle. 71,000 kilometers. Round trip. I close my eyes. The room is 12 feet by 14 and has everything in it. Chapter 6. The things I know how to say. Sam. Here is what I know about myself. I am 26 years old. I play left wing for the Minnesota Frost. My shot percentage this season is sitting at 18.4, which is the best of my career. I can skate a 40-meter sprint in under 4 seconds on fresh ice. I have been in this league for 5 years and I have never once been a problem, not in the locker room, not in the press, not in the GM's office, not anywhere. I am the kind of player coaches describe as professional and teammates describe as reliable and scouts described, once, in a report I wasn't supposed to see, as a machine that happens to have a name. I know how to tape a stick so the seam sits exactly where my top hand wants it. I know the nutritional content of 14 different protein bars by memory. I know that the left edge of the ice at PPG Paints Arena in Pittsburgh has a soft patch 2 feet from the boards that will catch your blade if you're not watching for it. I know that my father's birthday is October 3rd and that he likes his steak medium rare and that he has never in his life asked me how I'm doing without immediately telling me how I'm doing. I know all of this the way you know the inside of your own house in the dark. Without thinking. Without effort. The furniture is where the furniture is. But I am lying in a motel room in Pickerington, Ohio at 1 in the morning, and the list of things I know keeps leading back to the same place, and I cannot make it stop. Leo's breathing has gone even again. He's been asleep for 20 minutes, maybe 25. The room is dark except for the orange glow around the edge of the curtain, the same parking lot light as last night, and the storm outside has quieted from the heavy fall of earlier to something steadier and softer, snow that's no longer going anywhere in a hurry. I should be asleep. I am not asleep. I am lying on my back with my arms at my sides and my eyes on the ceiling, and I am conducting an inventory I do not want to be conducting, the kind that starts with things that seem manageable and then goes somewhere else entirely, somewhere you've been avoiding, and once it goes there you can't pull it back. Here is what I know about Leo Vasquez. He laughs with his whole face and then acts surprised that something was funny, like joy catches him off guard every time. He puts water glasses down in every room he occupies and then forgets them there, a trail of evidence that he was present, that he existed in this space. He texted me at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday in November 2 months ago to tell me a fun fact about the migratory patterns of monarch butterflies and then followed it immediately with "sorry, wrong chat," even though I am the only person he texts that kind of thing to and we both know it. He told me about Caleb tonight. He put it in the room like he was setting down something heavy and not asking me to pick it up, just letting me see that it existed. That it had weight. That he had carried it. You don't come out of that the same, he said. I have been staring at that sentence for 20 minutes and I can't put it down either. I was 17 when I understood what I was. Not suspected. Not wondered. Understood. The way you understand a fact, cleanly, with no way to unfact it afterward. A player on the opposing team during a regional final, dark hair, fast, who hit me along the boards in the first period and said, "Nice hands, Callaway," and skated away, and I stood against the boards for half a second longer than I needed to and something settled into place in my chest with the quiet, terrible certainty of something that was always going to be true. I drove home with my dad that night. We won. I scored twice. He turned up the radio. I was 17 and I sat in the passenger seat of that truck and I thought, I cannot tell him. Not as a conclusion I'd worked toward. As a thing I simply already knew, the way I knew where the furniture was. The room of my life had walls, and those walls had been built long before that night, built from 100 smaller moments I hadn't named until I needed to. The moment I can name most clearly happened when I was 14. There was a player on my dad's old men's league team named Paul Garrett. Quiet man, good defenseman, brought donuts to every game. He came out to the team at the start of their fall season. My dad told me about it one night at dinner in the specific tone he used for things he considered unfortunate but not his business. Feel sorry for him, he said. Not mean. Not angry. The way you'd feel sorry for someone with a bad knee. Like it was an ailment. Like Paul Garrett had something wrong with him that couldn't be fixed, and the kindest thing to do was not to make it worse. My mother said, "Bob," in her quiet correcting way. My dad said, "I'm just being honest." I ate my dinner. I was 14 and I already knew what I was, and I sat at the table and I understood that the word my father would use, that quiet, pitying sorry, was a wall. Not a door. Not a thing that opened. A wall, load-bearing, structural, and if I pushed it the whole house came down. I never pushed it. I built around it instead. I built and built, hockey, discipline, performance, the clean and manageable geometry of a life with rules, and the wall stayed standing, and I told myself this was fine, this was smart, this was survival, which it was. It was also a cage I'd been calling a house for 12 years. My phone buzzes. I pick it up before it can buzz again and wake Leo. The screen says it's a Google alert. I set them years ago for my name, standard practice, a way to track contract news and trade rumors before they become official. Usually they're nothing. Game recaps. Stats breakdowns. The occasional profile piece. I open the notification. The alert has flagged a post from a sports media site I've seen before. Mid-level. The kind that chases stories the major outlets haven't touched yet. The headline loads first. Minnesota Frost's Callaway and Vasquez, Ice Brothers or something more. I read it twice to make sure I read it right. The post has a photo at the top. It's not a great photo, grainy, taken from a distance, the parking lot light washing things out at the edges. But it's clear enough. Two men standing in a snowstorm at the edge of a rest stop parking lot, close together, one with his shoulder pressed against the other's, both looking out at the white nothing like they're waiting for the same thing. Leo's shoulder is against my arm. I can see the line of our bodies in the snow, not touching, not dramatically close, but close. The way you stand next to someone you don't need to explain yourself to. The article is not long. It's carefully phrased, careful not to say anything specific, full of phrases like, close bond between the two wingers, and, chemistry that goes beyond the ice, and, fans have been discussing for months. It links to some Twitter threads. It says the photo was taken during the storm delay and filed by a freelance photographer. At the bottom, 43 shares. 112 comments. I don't read the comments. I should put the phone down. I know I should put the phone down. But I sit there in the dark of room 112 of the Compass Inn and I look at the photo of the two of us in the snow and I think about Leo saying you narrate, it's different, and I think about Leo saying you don't come out of it the same, and I think about Leo's hands and his water glasses and the way he gave me back the protein bar with the lower sodium content without making it a question. And I think about my father. And I think about the word sorry. And I put my phone face down on the mattress. I stare at the ceiling. I do not sleep. At 2:47, Leo's voice comes through the dark. Not fully awake, softer than his regular voice, the edge is gone, the performance of being fine stripped down to just the person. Sam. I don't move. Yeah. You okay over there? The ceiling is water-stained in one corner. I've been looking at it long enough to have it memorized. There are things I could say. 43 shares. An article. A photo I didn't know was being taken. A father who watches every game on a stream from Manitoba and has a specific word for what I am that sounds like kindness and is a wall. There are things I know how to say. There are things I have spent 12 years learning not to. Yeah, I say. Go back to sleep. A pause. The storm presses at the window. Okay, Leo says. His voice is already going under again. 3 words and he trusts them enough to close his eyes. I lie in the dark and hold the smallest lie I've ever told and wait for morning. Chapter 7. The Almost. Leo. The thing about a hockey fight is that it's not really about anger. People think it is. They watch 2 guys drop their gloves and grab each other's jerseys and they think, those men are angry. And sometimes that's true. Sometimes it's exactly what it looks like. But most of the time, if you've been in enough of them, you know that a fight is a decision. Half a second of decision, someone crosses a line and something in you that has been patient reaches its limit and the patience ends. I have been in 11 fights in my professional career. Number 12 happens in Pittsburgh in the second period. The roads opened Thursday morning. By noon we were back on the bus, and by 6 p.m. we were in Pittsburgh, checked into a real hotel with real rooms and real locks on real doors, and Sam in his own room down the hall where he has been since we got here, which I have been telling myself is normal and fine and not something I'm tracking. The game is Friday night. The Steel City Wolves are third in the division and they are big, not the biggest team in the league but built for punishment, the kind of lineup that wears you down over 60 minutes until your legs are borrowed and your decisions are slow. We beat them in October by 1 goal. They remember that. Games in November against a team that remembers October are a specific kind of uncomfortable. The first period is hard and scoreless. The second period is harder. I'm at the blue line with Danny Kowalski when it happens. Sam is cycling below me in the left corner, working the puck against a Wolves defenseman, winning position the way he does, not through force, through leverage and timing, the kind of smart that looks quiet until you realize you've already lost. He gets the puck free. He turns. A Wolves forward named Briggs, I know him by reputation, big, late elbows, the kind of player officials watch closely and still miss things on, comes from behind. Not a hip check. Not a legal play. A hit angled up and late, the elbow rising, and Sam takes it in the ribs and goes down hard against the boards and the puck slides harmlessly away. The whistle doesn't come. I don't remember the thought that comes before the action. I know there was a thought, there's always a thought, a half second, the decision moment. But I can't tell you what it was. I can tell you that my gloves hit the ice before I was conscious of dropping them, and I can tell you that I covered the 20 feet between me and Briggs in a time my legs should not have been capable of at this point in the game, and I can tell you that when I grabbed his jersey everything in me that has been quiet and patient and waiting had found exactly the wrong moment to stop being any of those things. The fight is short. Briggs is bigger than me by 30 pounds but he's off balance and I'm not, and the officials let it go for about 15 seconds before they're in. I land 3 good ones. He clips my cheek with something that will be a bruise by morning. I don't feel it. The officials pull us apart. I'm breathing hard, not from effort, from the adrenaline exit, the way the body processes violence by shaking afterward if you let it, which I don't. I look at Sam. He's on his feet. He's at the boards with one hand pressed against his ribs, the other on the rail, and he's looking at me with an expression I have never seen on his face before. Not the neutral one. Not the almost smile one. Not the measuring one. Something completely unguarded. Open in a way that Sam Calloway's face is not open, not in public, not on ice, not anywhere I've been able to see. It lasts 3 seconds before he puts it away. But I saw it. I take my penalty and I sit in the box for 5 minutes and I press the back of my hand to my split knuckles and I think, I need to be careful. I think, that was not about hockey. I think, he knows that. I know he knows that. We win the game 3-2. I get an assist on the game winner from Danny. Sam scores one in the third on a wrist shot that goes off the post and in and the bench loses its mind. I do not tell you this is a good night. It is a complicated night wearing the jersey of a good night. The locker room after is loud the way winning locker rooms are, not the wild kind, but the satisfied kind, the kind where men who work hard let their shoulders come down for 20 minutes before the work starts again. Danny has music on. Marcus Webb is eating a protein bar with the expression of a man who has earned it. Petrov is talking to the second assistant coach in a mix of English and Russian that the coach seems to understand. I'm at my stall unwrapping my hands when Sam sits down next to me. He doesn't sit next to me at my stall after games. He has his own stall across the room. This is not something we do. He sits down without a word. He looks at my knuckles. Then he reaches into his bag and pulls out wrap tape. He carries it, always, because Sam Calloway is the kind of person who always has the thing you need before you know you need it, and without asking, without saying anything at all, he takes my right hand and starts wrapping it. I go very still. He wraps carefully. Cleanly. Starting below the knuckles, 3 rounds, the way a trainer would do it but tighter because he knows exactly how much tension matters. His hands are steady. His head is down. His jaw is set. We are 4 inches apart. Neither of us says anything. The locker room is loud around us and there is a very small, very private silence inside that noise, and it is ours, and Sam is wrapping my hand with the focus of a man who needs something to do with himself, something specific and physical and caring that he can frame as practical, and I am letting him, and my chest is doing that thing again, the furniture scraping across the floor, settling somewhere new. I fought someone for him. I've fought for teammates before. A late hit, a dirty play, the standard protection that's part of the job. I've dropped my gloves 6 times in this league for a teammate, and every single time I could tell you exactly the calculus that crossed a line. The team needs to know we respond. This is what the job requires. This was not that. I know it. And when I look up from my wrapped hand and Sam is looking back at me from 4 inches away, both of us inside this small noise-surrounded silence, I know that he knows it too. He finishes the wrap. He tears the tape. He does not let go of my hand. He holds it for 1 beat. 2. Long enough to not be accidental. Long enough to be a question asked in the only language he currently speaks, which is the language of things done instead of said. I look at him. He looks at me. Then the music gets louder and Danny says something across the room that makes half the team laugh, and Sam releases my hand and sits back and picks up his own water bottle, and everything continues around us like nothing happened. My hand is warm where he held it. I look at the wrap job. It's perfect. Of course it is. Chapter 8. What I almost did in Pittsburgh. Sam. I need to tell you what it cost me to let go of his hand. Not in the way that sounds. I mean, I need you to understand the actual arithmetic of it, what it took to look at Leo Vasquez from 4 inches away in a room full of people and open my fingers and release and then pick up a water bottle and drink from it like I was a person for whom drinking water was the natural next action, like my ribs didn't ache where Briggs hit me, like my blood wasn't still moving faster than it should be, like Leo's knuckles wrapped in my tape weren't the most important thing in that room. I let go because I have been letting go for 12 years. I am very good at it. It doesn't mean it doesn't cost anything. The bill just comes later. Leo fought for me. I'm going to say that one more time because I've been saying it in my head since it happened and it hasn't gotten smaller. Leo Vasquez dropped his gloves and covered 20 feet and put himself in a fight that he did not have to be in, and he did it before the whistle, before the officials moved, before any of the standard considerations that make those calculations happen, before anything except the fact that I was down and Briggs had put me there. I've had teammates fight for me before. It happens. It's part of the job, part of the code, and the math of it is usually clean. Someone crosses a line, someone responds, the team establishes something. Transactional. Professional. That was not what I watched from the boards with one hand on the rail and the other pressed against my ribs. What I watched was Leo moving like something had been released in him. Not furious, worse than furious. Certain. Like the decision had been made before his brain caught up to it, like his body already knew what his mind was still processing. Like protecting me was not a calculation but a reflex, the kind you don't develop from strategy but from something that lives deeper than strategy. I watched that for 3 seconds before he was in and the officials were in and it was over. And then he looked at me from across the ice. I have a face I put on in public that I have refined over 26 years. A specific expression, neutral, steady, professional, the hockey face that gives nothing and asks for nothing and suggests a man fully at ease in the room he's standing in. I can hold it through bad calls, hard losses, difficult conversations with coaches, the kind of pain that makes your vision white at the edges. I have held it through worse than this. I held it for about 3 seconds. Then I put it back and I skated to the bench and I sat down and I held it for the rest of the game. But those 3 seconds happened. And Leo saw them. I know he saw them because when I looked back at him from the penalty box his face had something on it that I can only describe as recognition, the way someone looks when they see something they've been looking for and didn't expect to find. I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to do with most of this. The hand. I sat next to him at his stall after the game because my body walked me there before my head could object, the same way Leo's body walked him to Briggs before his head caught up. Some things move faster than thinking. I'm not sure that's a comfort. I wrapped his hand because it needed wrapping and because I carry tape for exactly this reason and because wrapping something is a task with a start and an end and clear correct technique, which is the kind of thing I can hold on to. I focused on the tension, the angle, the number of passes. I was 4 inches from his face for 90 seconds. I can tell you the exact way the locker room light catches his cheekbones. I can tell you that he has a very small scar at the corner of his left eye that I have noticed before and tried not to catalog and have cataloged completely against my will. I can tell you that he smells like ice and hockey tape and something that is just specifically him, a thing I have no language for, a thing I have been noticing for 2 years and have nowhere to put. I held his hand for 2 seconds longer than the task required. I don't know why I did that. That's not true. I know exactly why. I can't say it. I let go. I picked up my water bottle. I performed being a person. The bill for those 2 seconds is going to be significant. My phone rings at 10:43. I'm in my hotel room, alone, lying on my bed looking at the ceiling, which is where I have been for approximately 40 minutes since showering and ordering food I've eaten half of. The contact on the screen says Ray Barker, agent. I pick up. Sam. You good? Saw you take that hit. Ribs are fine. What's up, Ray? Ray has been my agent for 4 years. He does not call at 10:43 to check on my ribs. There's a pause on his end that has a shape to it, the shape of something he's been sitting with and has decided to deliver. Got a call today, he says. From Detroit. I sit up. Red Stars are interested. Serious interested, not feeling out interested. They've got a cap slot, their left wing situation is a mess since Holbrook went down, and their GM thinks you're the fix. Another pause. Sam, they're talking a number that's going to make your current deal look like a practice contract. The room is exactly as quiet as it was before the phone rang. It's early in the season, I say. Trade deadline's in 3 months. They want to get ahead of it. First offer would come through within the week if you signal yes. We'd have real negotiating leverage here. I need time to think. Of course. Take a few days. I just wanted you to hear it from me before anything moved. He pauses again. This is a good problem to have, Sam. Detroit wants you. That means something. I know. Thanks, Ray. I hang up. I sit on the edge of the bed with the phone in both hands and I think about Detroit. I think about the Red Stars system, their ice time numbers, their cap situation, their GM's reputation, the weather in Michigan in February, the arena on Jefferson Avenue that I've played in twice and found unremarkable. I run the analysis the way I run all analysis, systematically, variables identified, pros in one column, cons in the other. The pros are real. The money is real. The ice time is real. Detroit is a serious hockey city with a serious organization, and this is the kind of offer you take when it comes, the kind of offer that shapes the rest of a career. I put the phone face down on the mattress. Down the hall, 2 floors up, Leo is in his room. I don't know what he's doing. I know what I am not doing, which is telling him about this phone call, which is something I'm noticing about myself, that there was a version of this evening where I called him after getting off with Ray, the way you call a person when something large lands in your life, the way you call the person you call. That version of this evening doesn't exist. I put it away the same way I put away his hand, the same way I've been putting away 2 years of things I don't have words for. I go down to the hotel restaurant at 9 the next morning. Leo is already there with Danny. They're at a corner table and Danny is showing Leo something on his phone that Leo thinks is funny. I can see it from the entrance, that full-face laugh, the one that takes his whole body, the one that does the thing it always does to the air near me when I'm close enough to be near it. I get a coffee. I sit at a separate table. I have my notebook with me and I look at it like it has something important in it. I look up once. Leo is still laughing. Danny is mid-story, hands going, and Leo has his head back and one hand on the table and he is entirely, fully, unguardedly present in that moment. I think about Detroit. I think about their arena on Jefferson Avenue that I found unremarkable. I think about a locker room where I know no one and no one knows me, where I would be new again, which has always been manageable, has always been fine. You go somewhere new, you perform, you build the walls in the new shape, you don't leave room for anything you can't afford. I look at my notebook. I think, if I take this trade, I spend the rest of my career wondering what would have happened if I'd stayed. I know this as clearly as I know anything. As clearly as I know the soft patch of ice at PPG Paints Arena. As clearly as I know that Leo takes the window seat because I give it to him. I write nothing in the notebook. I drink my coffee. I keep my face exactly the way it always is. the bill for those 2 seconds is compounding. Chapter 9. Buffalo, and the weight of being patient. LEO. Patience is not a feeling. I want to be clear about that. People talk about patience like it's something you have, like a coat you put on. It's not. Patience is something you do, every single hour, actively, against the current of what you actually want. It costs. It costs every time. And the price goes up the longer you pay it because interest accumulates whether you're paying attention or not. I have been patient with Sam Calloway for 2 years and 2 months and approximately 16 days. I know the exact length of time because I remember the first day I understood what I was being patient about. Third practice of our first season together. He passed me the puck without looking and I thought, with the clarity of a man who has made this mistake before, oh, that's going to be a problem. I filed it. I managed it. I built the patience the way you build muscle, slowly, deliberately, with the understanding that it would be worth something eventually. In Buffalo, on day 4 of this road trip, I'm starting to wonder about the eventually. We beat Pittsburgh 3-2 and arrived in Buffalo on a charter that landed at 9 p.m. on a Friday night with a game the following afternoon. The hotel here is a real hotel, separate rooms, full floors, the impersonal comfort of a place that has serviced enough professional athletes to know exactly what they want and exactly how not to make it personal. I am in my room alone. Sam is in his room alone. We have been in separate rooms for 36 hours and in that time he has texted me once, a film note about the Sabres' left defense that was accurate and useful and contained exactly 0 words about anything else, which is his right and is also the kind of thing that makes the patience expensive. I eat breakfast alone. I stretch alone. I go to the morning skate and I do my job, which I do well, and I do not look at Sam more than is professionally necessary, which requires an amount of active effort I resent deeply. After skate I'm in the hallway outside the weight room, different hallway, different hotel, same geography of avoidance, when Marcus Webb falls into step beside me. Marcus is 30 years old and has been in this league long enough to read a room without trying. He's not a man who performs observation. He just notices things the way certain people do, quietly and without making it a statement. He grew up in a house with 4 sisters and he once told me that surviving that made him a better centerman because he learned to know where everyone on the floor was at all times without looking. You good, he says. Yeah. Good skate. Not what I asked. I look at him. He's looking straight ahead, hands in his jacket pockets, pace steady. Not accusing. Not pushing. I'm fine, I say. Sure, he says. We walk another 20 feet. You've been weird since Columbus, he says. Not bad weird. Just, off. Like you're playing something in your head that I can't hear. I'm fine, Marcus. Okay. He stops at the elevator. Presses the button. Looks at me once, briefly, the way he does, the look that says I see it and I'm not going to make it a thing unless you want it to be a thing. Game's at 2, he says. Sleep tonight. The elevator opens. He gets in. I stand in the hallway and let the doors close and think about how long I've been playing something in my head that no one can hear, and how tired I am of the acoustics in there. The game is good and we win it, 4-1, which should feel uncomplicated and mostly does. Sam scores once and assists on 2, including mine, and we run the same give and go in the third period that we've been running for 2 seasons, puck to the space where I'm going, exactly timed, no look needed, and I bury it top corner and the bench comes over the boards and Sam is the second person to reach me, not the first because he never lets himself be first, and he grabs the back of my helmet the way teammates do and says nothing. His hand on the back of my helmet. I am adding that to the pile whether I want to or not. Team dinner is at a steakhouse 3 blocks from the hotel. Long table, the whole group, the specific loud warmth of men who won a game and are being fed well afterward. Marcus is across from me. Sam is 4 seats down on the same side of the table, which means I can't see his face without leaning forward, which I don't do. I'm eating and half listening to a conversation about playoff predictions when Danny Kowalski, 2 seats to my right, makes the sound he makes when he's found something on his phone that he thinks is a gift to the table. Danny's relationship with his phone is like his relationship with most things, enthusiastic, loud, and without a strong filter between thought and action. He holds it up like he's making a toast. Boys, he says. We're internet famous. The table does what tables do with Danny, it gives him the brief, half-attentive audience of people who know he's going to say the thing regardless. Which of us specifically, Marcus says. Calloway and Vasquez. He turns the phone around. I don't have to see the screen clearly to know what's on it because the headline is large enough and I've already seen the article. Minnesota frosts Calloway and Vasquez, ice brothers or something more. The photo visible above the text even at this distance. The table produces the sound that follows when a group of men are given something they're not sure if they're allowed to find funny and decide together that they are. Not mean, not cruel, not deliberate. The comfortable laughter of people who don't have to think about why something is easy for them. Ice brothers, Danny says, with enormous satisfaction. That's us, boys. Ice brothers. You're not in the photo, someone says. I'm an ice brother in spirit. More laughter. Marcus glances at me. Not the public glance, the private one. I keep my face steady and easy because I have been doing this my whole life and I am very good at it. I do what I always do, which is metabolize and deflect and let the moment move through the room without sticking to anything important. I lean forward to look past the people between us and I look at Sam. His face is still. Not neutral. Not the careful professional blank he carries in press conferences. Not even the measuring look he uses when something requires analysis. This is something different, the absence of the usual traffic. Like every light in the building went off at once. Still and white and completely closed. He's looking at the table in front of him. His fork is in his hand. He has not taken a bite. 4 seconds. 5. The table is still going. Someone is asking Danny if they can get Ice Brother jerseys printed. Someone else is asking whether the photo is good enough for their side. The question is, it's so blurry. Sam sets his fork down. Clean. Deliberate. Excuse me, he says, to no one in particular, to everyone. He pushes his chair back. He stands. He walks toward the front of the restaurant without looking at me or at Danny or at the phone or at anything specific. Just walking. Controlled and measured and headed for the hallway near the entrance, where the noise of the table won't reach. The table barely notices. Danny has moved on to something else. Marcus is looking at his steak. The laughter continues, finds new material, keeps moving. I count to 30. Then I put my napkin down and I push my chair back and I go after him. Chapter 10. The hallway outside the restaurant. Sam. The hallway smells like garlic and old carpet and the specific cold that comes through old building doors that don't seal right. I'm standing next to the fire exit sign because it was the farthest point from the restaurant noise that I could reach without going outside, and I needed distance more than I needed cold, and this is what I have. Orange light. A sign. The low sound of the ventilation system. My own breathing, which I'm working on. I hear him before I see him. His footsteps, I know them, which is a piece of information about me that I've stopped being surprised by. He comes around the corner and stops about 5 feet away and looks at me with that expression he wears when he's giving someone room. Not pushing. Not pulling. Just, present. I'm sorry about that, he says. Kowalski didn't mean anything. I know. He's not, it wasn't targeted. He thought it was funny. I know that, Leo. He nods. He puts his hands in his jacket pockets. He looks at the floor for a second, then back at me. And then he says the thing. It's just a picture. The hallway is quiet. I know, I say. I hear the word come out of my mouth and I hear how it sounds and I know that Leo hears it too, hollow in the middle, the kind of I know that means the opposite of knowing, that means I have been staring at this picture on my phone at 1 in the morning and I cannot make it be just a picture no matter how many times I tell it to be. A pause. Leo says, do you want it to be something? The question sits in the hallway between us. I look at the carpet. It's a patterned carpet, red and brown, the kind that exists specifically in restaurants and old hotels to hide things. I look at the pattern and I think about all the times in my life I have been asked a question I knew the honest answer to and given the safe answer instead, and how many times I have done that, and how each time it was the right call, the smart call, the necessary call, and how the pile of those smart necessary calls has gotten heavy in a way I didn't anticipate when I started stacking them. I look at the fire exit sign. Green. The running figure in white, always running, always going somewhere, mid-stride forever. I look at Leo. He is 5 feet away and he asked me a question and he is waiting and he is not going to ask again. I know him well enough to know that. He asked it once, straight, because that's who he is, the kind of person who says the actual thing because he learned that not saying it costs more in the end. He learned that from Caleb. He learned it the hard way and he told me about it in a motel room in a snowstorm and I lay in the dark afterward and didn't sleep. He is waiting. I say, I don't know how to be someone who does. My voice comes out steady. I will give myself that. It comes out steady and flat and precisely placed, exactly where I put it. Leo looks at me. He is quiet for long enough that I count 4 beats of the ventilation system. Then he says, softly, not unkind, not sharp, just true, that's not actually an answer to my question. The hallway. The carpet. The sign. The cold coming through the door. I look at him one more time and he is looking back at me and I see it. What's on his face isn't frustration and isn't pity and isn't the patience I know he's been carrying. It's something past those. Something that has been waiting 2 years to be in this hallway and is done pretending it isn't here. I say nothing. I turn and I walk back into the restaurant. I sit back down. I pick up my fork. My food has gone cold. Danny is telling a story about something that happened in Vancouver 3 seasons ago. Marcus has his hand around his glass. The table is warm and loud and full of people who do not know what just happened in the hallway and do not need to. I take a bite. I chew. I taste nothing. Chapter 11. What I decide to do with my feelings. Leo. I stand in that hallway for a long time after he walks away. Not because I'm stunned. I'm not stunned. I've known Sam Calloway for 2 years and I knew before he opened his mouth what he was and wasn't going to say, knew it the way you know a song is going to end on a minor chord before it gets there. The knowing doesn't make the chord easier. It just means you're braced. I don't know how to be someone who does. I play it back 3 times. Not because the words are unclear. Because I'm looking for the door in them and there isn't one. Not tonight. Not from him, not like this, not in a restaurant hallway with garlic in the air and 43 shares becoming something larger and 2 years of distance between us that he has never once tried to close. I've been the one holding the door open. I decide, standing next to the fire exit sign in Buffalo, that I'm going to stop. Not because I don't want him. Not because anything changed between the table and this hallway or between the motel room and this moment. I want him the same way I have wanted him for 2 years, which is completely and inconveniently and with the specific quality of a thing that has gotten into the structure of you rather than just sitting on top. But I watched what happened to Caleb when I needed him to be ready before he was. I watched what it does to a person, to both people, when want becomes pressure and pressure becomes the only thing either of you can feel. I swore after that I would never be the crowbar in someone else's locked room. I am not going to be that for Sam. And I am not going to stand here keeping the door open while he decides whether to walk through it. That's not patience anymore. That's just disappearing. Piece by piece. Giving myself away in increments in exchange for nothing while Sam conducts his internal inventory and files it under things he knows but does not say. I go back to the table. I finish my dinner. I laugh at Danny's story, which is actually funny the way Danny's stories always are when you give them enough time to develop. I have dessert. I talk to Marcus about the Sabres forecheck and what we need to fix before next season. I am fine. I am completely fine. I am deciding something in the part of my mind that runs parallel to all of this, quietly and without announcement, the way structural decisions get made. We fly home the next morning. I sit next to Petrov on the plane, which confuses him but which he accepts because Petrov has a high tolerance for unexplained events. Sam sits across the aisle. I don't look at him. That's not a dramatic statement. I'm simply allocating my attention differently. I am very deliberate about this. Back in Minnesota, in the days that follow, I make the change. It's not dramatic. That's important. There's no confrontation, no announcement, no cold shoulder that anyone could point to and call behavior. It's quieter than that and therefore harder, because it requires me to be the same person I always am on the surface while doing something very different underneath. I stop eating lunch at Sam's usual table. I sit with Marcus in our second-line right wing, a quiet Finnish kid named Maki who has been on the team 2 months and still mostly watches everyone else to figure out how things work. I eat with Petrov twice. I eat with Danny once, which is an experience, like having lunch inside a pinball machine. I stop being the first one to text. This is the one that costs the most, actually, more than the lunch table, more than the rerouted mornings. Because texting first has been my rhythm with Sam for 18 months. Not constantly, not in a way that would read as what it is, not in a way anyone else would notice, but consistently. The film note. The article about migratory birds sent to the wrong chat on purpose, despite what I told him. The stupid thing Danny said that he'd appreciate. I have been the one who initiates, always, the one who keeps the current moving. I stop. I wait to see if the current moves anyway. It does not move. This tells me something I already knew and did not want confirmed. On Wednesday, Marcus catches me in the parking lot after morning skate. "You and Callaway have a fight," he says. I keep walking. "We're fine." That's not what I asked. "We're fine, Marcus." He walks beside me. His breath makes small clouds in the cold. He's been eating alone. "You've been eating with Maki, which, no offense to Maki, but that's not your natural habitat. Your line chemistry is still good on ice, which is weird. Usually when two guys have a thing it shows in the cycle. We don't have a thing. Everyone has a thing." I stop walking. Marcus stops too. He looks at me without pressure, the way he does, the Four Sisters patience. "Sam doesn't fight," I say. I hear the words come out and I know immediately I've said too much and too specifically. I mean, he's fine. We're fine. Marcus is quiet for a second. "That's the problem," he says, very gently. I look at him. He says nothing else. He pulls his keys out of his pocket and walks to his car and doesn't look back, because Marcus Webb knows the difference between a thing someone needs to say out loud to themselves and a conversation, and he's just given me the former. I stand in the cold parking lot and the sentence sits in me. Sam doesn't fight. That's the problem. I said it like it was an observation. It was also a verdict. I don't know if I meant it the way it landed, but it landed correctly, which is sometimes how truth works. It arrives in words you chose for a different reason and then it's just there, accurate and inconvenient. The article gets bigger. I know this because my Instagram mentions start doing something unusual on Thursday, and by Friday the original sports media post has been picked up by a mid-major hockey outlet with real traffic. The headline there is more pointed: "Are the Frost star wingers just teammates? Fans have thoughts." I read it once. I close it. I do not open the comments section because I am a person with some self-preservation instinct left and that comments section will cost me something I can't afford right now. My phone has 3 texts from my mom asking if I'm okay, which means she's seen it, which means people outside our specific professional circle have seen it. I text her back, "I'm fine, call you Sunday." She responds with a heart emoji and then a hockey stick emoji and then a question mark, which is my mother's way of saying she has thoughts she will be saving for Sunday. I don't check whether Sam has seen the new article. I know he has. Friday afternoon I'm in the weight room when my phone rings. It's Jenny, the travel coordinator, which is unusual enough that I pick up immediately. "Hey. GM wants you in his office at 4. Today." "About what?" "He'll tell you." A pause. "It's not bad. Just go." I put the weight down. GM's office is on the 4th floor of the training facility, corner room, windows facing the practice rink, the kind of room that has carpet and framed photos and the quiet authority of a place where real decisions live. Bill Garrett has been the Frost's GM for 7 years. He's a straightforward man in the way that people who make hard decisions for a living learn to be, not cold, just efficient with language. He offers me a chair. He sits across from me. He does not make small talk. "I'll get to it," he says. "We've received an offer from Detroit for Callaway. Real offer, pre-deadline, good terms for both sides. I'm not here to ask your permission, that's not how this works and you know it. But you and Sam run the best line we've had in 6 seasons and I want to understand what losing him does to us before I decide how to respond." I sit in the chair. The practice rink is visible through the window. Empty now, the ice cut and white and waiting. Bill Garrett is looking at me with the neutral patience of a man who has had harder conversations in this room. He's my best line mate, I say. My voice comes out even. I am proud of how even it comes out. The line doesn't work the same without him. His read off the cycle, the give and go, we've built that over 2 seasons. You can't replicate it quickly. That's what I needed to hear, Bill says. From a hockey standpoint. He says from a hockey standpoint the way certain men say things, with the quiet acknowledgement that there might be other standpoints, and that those standpoints are none of his business unless they become a professional matter, which they haven't, which means this conversation is over. Is there anything else? I say. No, he says. Thanks for coming in. I stand. I shake his hand. I walk out of his office and down the hall and into the stairwell, and I stand in the stairwell for a moment with my hand on the railing. Detroit wants Sam. Sam has not told me this. Sam has not told me this, and I stopped initiating contact 4 days ago, and the current between us has gone still, and there is a trade on a table somewhere with his name on it. I think about the parking lot. The snow. 2 men standing close together in a storm that neither of them made. I think about what it would feel like if that photo was taken in a city I didn't live in anymore. If there was no hallway outside a restaurant. If the window seat on every flight was just mine. Uncontested. Unnoticed. An empty aisle seat beside me. I push off the railing. I walk back to my car. The trade offer is real. Sam knows it. He's been sitting alone at lunch for 4 days and he knows it and he hasn't said a word. I don't know what that means. I know what I'm afraid it means. And the thing about being done waiting is that you still have to wake up the next morning and find out what the waiting was for. Chapter 12. The silence I manufactured. Sam. I know what Leo pulling away means. I've been waiting for it, honestly. Not consciously, not with any kind of plan, but in the way you wait for a thing you've been dreading, the body already braced before the mind has finished the sentence. He pulled away because the hallway in Buffalo was the clearest I've ever been without being clear at all, and he's a smart man, Leo Vasquez, the smartest man I share ice with, and he understood what I don't know how to be someone who does actually means in plain language. It means no. It means I can't. It means I am asking you, without the courage to ask it directly, to stop standing near the door because I am never going to open it and it would be kinder for both of us if we stopped pretending otherwise. He understood. He stepped back. He is eating lunch with Maki and Petrov and the second-line guys now, and he texts me only when it's hockey, specific and clean and professional, and in practice he is exactly what he has always been, precise, committed, our line chemistry unchanged because that part of us is built into muscle memory now, too deep to be touched by what's happening on the surface. I am relieved. I am also devastated in a way I don't have language for and don't intend to find language for. I throw myself into hockey instead. The 2 weeks after Buffalo are the best hockey of my career. I don't say that with pride, I say it as a fact I'm reporting, the way you report a weather pattern. 5 goals, 4 assists in 8 games. My shot percentage climbs to 21.3, which is not a number most people in this league carry. My read off the cycle is sharper than it's been all season. I'm making decisions faster, seeing the ice cleaner, finishing with the kind of cold efficiency that coaches put in film reviews as an example of something done right. It makes perfect sense if you understand how I'm built. When I have nothing else to hold on to, I hold on to this. The ice is the one place in my life where I have always known exactly who I am and exactly what to do. It has never asked anything from me except what I can give. It has never looked at me with brown eyes and asked if I want something to be something. It has never said my name the way Leo says my name, like the name itself is an entire case he's making, like 4 letters can carry the weight of 2 years of things neither of us said. The ice just waits. I skate. My father calls on a Thursday morning between practice and lunch. I see his name on the screen and I pick up on the second ring, which I always do, which is one of the rules I've had so long it doesn't feel like a rule anymore. Saw the highlights from Tuesday, he says. His version of hello. That goal in the third, that was the one. The wrist shot. Left circle, I say. Good look. Best 2 weeks of your career, son. He says it with the specific satisfaction of a man whose investment is performing well. Not cold, that's not what he is. He loves me. The warmth in his voice is real. The pride is real. I have never once doubted either of those things. But the sentence lands in me like a stone dropped into still water. Best 2 weeks of your career. 2 weeks in which his son has been completely hollowed out, has been lying awake at 1 a.m. staring at ceilings, has been eating alone and saying nothing and watching the only person who has ever come close to seeing him pull away because Sam Calloway finally communicated clearly enough. Thanks, Dad, I say. Your shot clock's ticking the same time every night. I noticed you're loading earlier on the backhand. Good adjustment. Yeah. Coach mentioned it. We talked for 8 more minutes. He tells me about the weather in Manitoba. He tells me the old men's league is down 3 players since October. He tells me my mother sends her love, which she always sends through him, a relay system they've used for 30 years that I've stopped questioning. He says work hard before he hangs up, which is his version of goodbye. I put the phone down. Best 2 weeks of your career. I sit with that for a while. With all of what it means and all of what it doesn't. The GM calls me in on a Friday. I've been expecting it since Jenny texted asking if I was free at 3. Bill Garrett's office has the same carpet and the same framed photos and the same quiet authority as last time I was in it, which was to sign my current contract 3 years ago. He gets to it the way he always does, without ceremony. Detroit's offer is formal now, he says. Cap number is strong, term is good, and they're motivated. This isn't a soft inquiry. They want an answer by the end of the month. He folds his hands on the desk. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your career, Sam. That's not my job. My job is to tell you the situation honestly and let you decide. I look out the window at the practice rink. White ice. Empty. What does the team want? I say. The team wants to win. You help us do that. So does the contract they're offering, if it frees up cap space to address the things we need to address. He pauses. I'm not asking you to go. I'm also not asking you to stay. I'm telling you the clock is real. 10 days, I say. Give or take. Talk to your agent. Think it through. He looks at me with the measured attention of a man who sees more than he says. You good otherwise? Yes. Good. He stands. Shakes my hand. You're one of the best I've had in here. That's not nothing, wherever you end up. I walk out. I walk to my car. I sit in the parking lot for 7 minutes before I can drive. The rink is empty at 11 p.m. on a Saturday. I know because I called ahead, the night maintenance crew doesn't come through until 1, which means the ice is mine for 2 hours if I want it. I haven't done this since I was 19 years old, home from my first pro training camp, needing to be on ice badly enough that I drove 20 minutes to my hometown rink and paid the overnight rate and skated alone for 90 minutes in the middle of the night. I lace up in the dark. The ice is good, not fresh, the edges from afternoon practice still visible, but solid. My blade reads it immediately, the way your feet read familiar ground. I push off from the boards and the sound comes back, blade on ice, the clean specific percussion of it, and something in my chest that has been knotted for 2 weeks does something that isn't quite loosening but is in that direction. I skate. No drills. No structure. No purpose except movement, which is the closest I've come to prayer my whole life, the rink in the dark and my body doing the one thing it has always known how to do without being told. I do the left circle over and over. Push, load, release. Push, load, release. The puck goes where I put it every single time. I think about Detroit. I think about the Red Stars system, their ice time, the number Ray quoted me that is real and significant and should settle the question. I think about what my father would say if I told him. He'd say take it, obviously, the money and the time and the opportunity, he'd say this is what all of it was for. I think about Leo at the corner table with Maki, not looking toward mine. I think about Leo's shoulder pressed against mine in the snow outside a rest stop, neither of us deciding to, both of us just there. I think about his hands when he talks, the way he uses them, how different he is from me in this one specific way, that he has never learned to keep himself in, that everything he feels moves into his body and out his hands and through his voice and onto his face, unguarded, present, there. I think, Leo watches. Leo has always watched. And immediately, that is the problem. And then, quieter, the thing underneath that I've been circling for 2 weeks without landing on. That is also the only thing I want. To be watched. By him specifically. Not observed, seen. The way he sees the loose crossover. The way he saw the hallway. The way he put Caleb's story in the room at the Compass Inn and watched to see if I understood what he was actually telling me. I have understood. I have understood everything. I stop at center ice. My breath makes clouds in the cold air. The arena is dark except for the maintenance lighting, just enough to skate by, the ice a dim white, the boards black around the edges. Everything quiet. Everything mine. I stay there for a moment. Just me, and the ice, and the thing I've been carrying since I was 17 years old that I have never once set down. I skate until my legs are borrowed equipment. At 12:40 I go to the boards and step off and start unlacing, sitting on the bench in the dark, and it's good, the specific good of exhaustion that comes from physical work, the body spent and grateful and temporarily emptied of everything that isn't blood and muscle and bone. I pick up my bag. I push through the tunnel door toward the parking lot. And I stop. Because Leo's car is in the parking lot. A dark blue Jeep I have memorized without intending to, parked 3 spots down from mine, engine off, been there long enough that the snow has started to dust the roof. I stand in the tunnel entrance and look at it. The cold comes off the parking lot in waves. I stand there for a long time. Chapter 13. The rink at midnight. Leo. I saw his car when I pulled in. I almost didn't stop. I sat in my Jeep in the parking lot with the engine running and his car in my headlights, and I thought about going home, about the decision I made in Buffalo, about what it means to respect a limit and what it costs when you don't. Then I turned the engine off. I'm not going to explain that. It wasn't strategic. It wasn't a plan. It was just his car, and the rink, and something in me that was done circling the outside of things. I went in through the side door with my facility pass. I knew the maintenance crew wouldn't be through until 1. The arena in the maintenance lighting is a different animal than it is during a game or a practice, smaller somehow, the ceiling lower, the ice a dim flat white that absorbs the light instead of throwing it back. It smells the same. Cold and rubber and the specific mineral quality of refrigerated air. It always smells the same, which is either comforting or just what you get used to. I stood at the mouth of the tunnel. Sam was at the left circle. He didn't know I was there. He was running the same drill on repeat, push, load, release, puck on net, circle back, do it again, and there was nothing to it technically, nothing he couldn't do in his sleep, but he was doing it with the concentration of a man who is using the motion to hold something else still. I know that version of skating. I've done it myself. You go to the ice because the ice doesn't ask anything. I watched him from the tunnel. I've watched Sam Calloway on ice more times than I can count. I've watched him in practice, in games, in warm-ups, in the quiet at the end of sessions when most of the team has left and he stays on for another 10 minutes that nobody asks for and nobody notices. I know his skating the way you know a piece of music you've heard enough times to hear inside your own head. But this was different. This was Sam at the left circle alone at midnight in a dark rink, nobody watching, nobody to be professional for, nobody to perform steadiness at. And he was skating, and it was beautiful the way true things are beautiful, not because they're arranged, but because they're actual. Because the motion was completely and only itself. I thought about the cage. Not as a metaphor I was reaching for. As a real thing I was watching. A man in a space he built himself out of real materials, his father's truck, a silence on a 16-mile drive, a locker room hallway, a quiet word that means sorry when it should mean I love you, and the man was still beautiful in it, still fully himself in the one place he had always been fully himself, and I was standing in the tunnel watching him and feeling something I hadn't let myself feel in 2 weeks of careful distance. Not frustration. Not the patience wearing thin. Grief. Clean, quiet grief for everything that is real in him that has never had room to exist anywhere except on this ice in the dark. I don't know how long I stood there. Long enough. He finished the drill and stood at the far end of the ice, and I watched him breathe. Then he turned. He saw me. He went very still. We looked at each other across the full length of the rink, boards between us, the ice between us, the maintenance lighting doing nothing useful for either of us, and neither of us moved. Then he skated toward me. Slowly. Not the speed of a man with a purpose but the speed of a man who is letting himself arrive, which is different. He came to the boards on my side and stopped and looked at me from 6 feet away with his gloves on and his helmet in one hand and his breath coming out in small clouds in the cold air. I said, "I'm not going to keep doing this." His face closed slightly. "Doing what?" "Pretending I don't know what's happening here." He said, "Nothing is happening." I looked at him. The rink was quiet around us. Outside, somewhere, a plow moved down a distant road. The refrigeration units hummed their low constant note. I said his name. Just that. Sam. One word, his name, the way you use a name when you need it to carry everything else, the snowstorm, the hallway, the protein bar swap, every flight, every window seat, 2 years of the current moving one direction, the wrapped knuckles, room 112, the migrating birds, the motel room dark, you deserved better, the way he held my hand one beat too long and then let go. I said his name and let it hold all of that. He stood at the boards and looked at me and said nothing. "Sam," I said. Quieter this time. "I'm done pretending." He looked at the ice. Then at the boards. Then at me. His jaw worked once. Then he stepped off the ice. He walked past me. Close enough that I could have reached out. I didn't. He kept his eyes forward and his bag over his shoulder and his steps were measured the way all his steps are measured, even now, even here, even at midnight in an empty rink with no one watching. At the tunnel door he stopped. He didn't turn. The door was in front of him and I was behind him and the rink was quiet and cold and I waited for whatever he was going to do, which I had stopped predicting months ago because Sam Calloway does not do what you predict. He said, "I know you deserve better than this." His voice was rough at the bottom of it. Just slightly. Just enough. Then he pushed through the door. It swung shut. I stood in the empty rink. The refrigeration units hummed. The ice waited, indifferent and cold and perfectly still. I stood there for a while, not because I didn't know what to do, but because the grief was still moving through me and I've learned that you have to let a thing move through you rather than trying to stop it, and because what he said is still in the air, still sitting in the cold of the arena. "I know you deserve better than this," and the thing about that sentence, the thing I keep turning over, is that it is the most honest thing Sam Calloway has ever said to me in 2 years. Not nothing is happening. Not I don't know how to be someone who does. I know you deserve better. He knows. He knows and he still walked out the door and he is going to Detroit or he is going to build a new cage in Detroit's colors or he is going to spend the rest of his life being excellent and controlled and absent and alone, and he knows, and the knowing is the part that is going to cost me sleep tonight. Not the not having. The knowing. I pick up my bag from the tunnel bench. I go home. I lie in the dark for a long time before I close my eyes. Chapter 14. All is lost. Sam. I call Ray at 9 in the morning. "Detroit," I say. "Tell them yes." A pause on his end, not surprise, I don't think, but the intake of breath that comes before the pivot from question to action. "Sam." "Good. This is good. I'll get moving on the paperwork side, we'll want to." "Just tell them yes." "I'll do the paperwork. I need the day." "Of course. Of course. This is the right call." I hang up. I sit at my kitchen table. The apartment is the way it always is in the morning, quiet, organized, every surface where it's supposed to be. I keep a clean space. Not because cleanliness matters to me philosophically but because control of the environment is one thing I can have completely, unlike most things. My coffee is black and hot and I hold the cup in both hands and I look at the wall. I made the right call. Detroit is a real organization. The money is real. The ice time is real. Ray is right and Bill Garrett implied it and my father would say it without hesitation. This is what all the work was for, this is the thing you've been building toward. This is the clean and logical next move for a man who has built a clean and logical career. I made the right call. I say it twice. I can't finish my dinner. I order food at 6, same place I always order from, pasta, the same thing I eat on the nights before games because the carb load is reliable, and it arrives and I eat about half of it and then I put the fork down and sit there with a full plate and no appetite and the apartment doing its quiet organized thing around me. My phone is on the table face up. This is different from usual. I put it face up when I'm expecting something. I don't know what I'm expecting. I've been checking it every 20 minutes since this morning and it has done nothing that requires face-up placement. Ray texted twice with logistics notes. Jenny sent a pre-skate reminder for tomorrow. Marcus texted something about a restaurant he thinks we should try before the Colorado game. Nothing from Leo. This is not surprising. This is the situation as I built it. I manufactured this silence, carefully and over time, and it is doing exactly what manufactured silences do. I checked the phone again. The Google alert has updated. The original article has been picked up now by a major hockey outlet, not a sports blog, not a mid-level site. A real one. The headline is longer this time, 2 seasons, 1 line, the unspoken story of the Frosts Callaway and Vasquez. It runs to 800 words. It has a photo spread, 3 images, the snowstorm one, a game photo from the Pittsburgh win, and one from a practice session 2 months ago that I don't remember anyone taking, where Leo is saying something and I am looking at him with an expression I cannot look at directly. I close the app. I open it again and close it again. I put the phone face down. The voicemail comes in at 8:47. I see the notification. Missed call, Dad. And below it, voicemail, 1. I look at it. My father calls on Sundays. He has called on Sundays my entire professional career, not because we scheduled it, but because that's when he watches the game recaps and that's when he has things to say about what he saw. He does not call on Thursdays. He especially does not call on Thursdays when the major hockey outlets are running 800-word features with photo spreads. I look at the voicemail notification for a long time. Then I put the phone face down. For the first time in my adult life, I do not call my father back. I sit with that. It sits differently than I expected. Heavier in some ways. In other ways, in the specific way of a thing that has been decided, lighter. Like a breath you've been holding and finally let go, except you're not sure yet if what's coming in next is air or something else, and you're just standing in that moment between the exhale and the next thing. I don't call. I sit in my clean apartment with my half-eaten dinner and my phone face down and the article I closed and the call I didn't return, and I think about room 112 and the birds that fly 71,000 kilometers a year and the question Leo asked in a restaurant hallway in Buffalo that I couldn't answer. I think about Detroit. The next morning Derek Holt is at his locker when I come in. He's talking to 2 of the second-line guys, coffee in one hand, the relaxed loud energy of a man in a room that has always been comfortable for him. He sees me come in and his face does the easy thing it does, recognition, a chin lift, the standard greeting. Then he says, Callaway. You see that article? I put my bag down. I take off my jacket. I hang it the way I always hang it. Which one, I say. The one about you and Vasquez. He says it the way he says everything, breezy, without loading it, like it's a weather report. The big one, the national thing. Showed up on my feed this morning. He shakes his head. Bunch of idiots with nothing better to do. You two have the best line chemistry in the conference. That's all it is. People see 2 guys who actually play well together and they can't just let it be a hockey thing. He says it to the room as much as to me. Not threatening. Not targeted. The tone of a man who thinks he's being reasonable, who thinks he's defending something, who has no idea that every word is a brick. That's all it is. Just a hockey thing. People can't let it be. I look at my locker. I smile. It's a small smile, practiced and even, the kind I've been producing on demand since I was 17 years old. It costs me something I don't currently have the inventory for. I don't let the cost show. Yeah, I say. People need content. Derek nods, satisfied. He goes back to his conversation. The locker room continues around me, music, sticks, the equipment manager moving through with skates, the regular noise of 30 men starting a regular day. I sit down on my bench. I tape my stick. I press each layer flat with my thumb and I think about the word sorry in my father's voice. I think about Paul Garrett bringing donuts to the old men's league. I think about a Google alert at 1 in the morning. I think about Leo's face in the tunnel last night, the grief in it that he probably didn't know I could see because it was midnight and the lights were low, but I see Leo the way Leo sees me, all the way in, all the way through, 2 years of paying attention that can't be unfiled. I tape the stick. I tape it until it's done and then I sit and hold it and breathe. He finds me in the hallway outside the film room at noon. I hear him before I see him, the specific cadence of his steps, which I am not going to pretend I don't recognize, and I turn and there he is, and his face is doing something I have never seen it do before, and that's a significant thing to say about a face I have been studying for 2 years without permission. Not frustrated. Not patient. Not the warm front he carries everywhere. Tight. Controlled the way my face is controlled, which on Leo is wrong, which on Leo is alarming in the specific way that an expression is alarming when it belongs on someone else's face. Marcus heard coaches talking, he says. Detroit. The offer. I look at him. My phone is in my jacket pocket. I can feel the weight of it. The unread voicemail. The article. Ray's logistics texts. Everything that has happened in the last 18 hours sitting in a rectangle in my pocket. Leo. Is it real? The hallway. The film room door is closed behind me. Down the corridor, someone has a TV on in the players' lounge, low and indistinct. The building hums with the ordinary activity of a practice day. I look at Leo's face. And I see it, what's sitting behind the tightness, behind the controlled thing he's wearing that doesn't fit him. Not anger. Not even hurt, exactly. Something further past those. He looks like a man standing at the edge of something he didn't expect to arrive at and isn't sure the ground below is there. I have put that look on his face. I've known for 2 years that I was capable of putting that look on his face, and I've been careful, I've been controlled, I've been everything my rules tell me to be, and here we are anyway. Here we are anyway. Sam, he says. My name. Quiet. Not the midnight version, not the argument. Just the plain version, the asking version, the one that says, I'm right here. Are you going to tell me the truth? I look at my phone in my pocket. I look at Leo. His face is somewhere I have never seen it go before. Not closed. Gone. Chapter 15. The trade I didn't know was coming. Leo. I don't get angry. I want to tell you I do, because angry would be clean. Angry has somewhere to go, it moves, it makes noise, it accompanies the room and then it burns down, and when the smoke clears you're still standing. Anger is something I know how to handle. I've handled it my whole life, in hockey and outside it, the fast hot kind and the slow cold kind, and I know its weight and I know how to carry it until it's gone. What happens in that hallway outside the film room is not anger. It's something quieter, and that's what frightens me. Sam looks at me with his face in that place I've never seen it before, and he says my name, and the word Detroit sits between us in the corridor like a piece of furniture we both have to walk around, and I go, still. Not cold. Not shut down. Just completely, thoroughly still. Like everything in me that has been moving for 2 years stops at once. I say, were you going to tell me? I hear my own voice. Flat and even. I don't recognize it as mine. Sam's jaw moves. I was going to tell you. When? When it was decided. I look at him. It's decided, I say. He says nothing for a moment. Then, very quietly, I know. He's looking at me with something that is not the neutral face and not the measuring face. He's looking at me like a man watching something he broke, trying to figure out how the pieces were arranged before he got to them, like if he looks long enough he can reconstruct what it looked like whole. I breathe in through my nose. I breathe out. I say, okay. And I walk away. I drive home. I sit in my apartment for 2 hours doing nothing that I can account for afterward. I was present in the room but not in any way that produced memory. My phone has 7 texts I don't read. My mom sends a voice note that I see arrive and don't open. Marcus texts once. I leave it. At 6 p.m. I get back in my car. I drive to Sam's building. I don't do this because I have a plan. I don't have a plan. I gave up on plans somewhere around midnight in an empty rink 2 nights ago. I'm doing this because I am a person who moves toward things when they matter, always have been, and Sam Calloway matters in a way that overrides the careful logic of self-protection, and I am done pretending otherwise even for my own benefit. I buzz his apartment from the front door. Silence for long enough that I think he won't answer. Then, yeah. It's me. Another silence. Shorter. The door clicks open. He opens his apartment door in a sweatshirt and socks. No shoes, no armor, no professional context. Just Sam in his apartment at 6 in the evening looking like a man who has been sitting in the quiet for hours and wasn't expecting the quiet to end. We look at each other. I go in. He steps aside to let me in, closes the door behind me, and we both stand in his entrance for a second, the kind of second that doesn't have a script. His apartment is the way his apartment always is, clean and organized and spare, every surface intentional, the kind of space that tells you exactly what the person who lives in it needs and what they've learned to live without. I go to the couch. I sit down. After a moment, he sits too. Not next to me, in the chair at the angle, the one facing the window. Outside, snow is falling. Not the blizzard kind, not the dramatic kind. The quiet kind that comes down straight and doesn't rush. We watch it for a while. Were you going to say anything? I ask. Yes. Before you left. A pause. Yes. Okay. I look at the snow. I believe you. He looks at me then, briefly, that quick motion, like he's checking whether I mean it, prepared to find I don't. I mean it. I've always been able to tell when Sam is lying and he's not lying. He would have said something. He would have found the flattest, most controlled version of the words and delivered them at the last possible moment, but he would have said something. That's not the same as not being hurt by it. I looked at the article, I say. The new one. I know. There's a picture of you watching me that, I stop. I breathe. You can see it on your face. Whatever you've been telling yourself isn't there. He is very still. I'm not saying this to be cruel, I say. I'm saying it because I need you to know that I know. I have known for a long time and I have been patient with it because I think you needed the patience and because I don't want to be the thing that pushes someone into a room they're not ready to be in. I pause. But you're moving to Detroit. The snow falls. A car goes by outside, slow and careful on the slick street. Sam says nothing. He looks at the window. His hands are on his knees and he's not moving, and he is the stillest person I've ever been in a room with, Sam Calloway, the man who can hold more inside him than anyone I've ever known, who has been holding this specific thing since before I met him and probably before he had a name for it. I think about the cage. I think about room 112 and the migrating birds and his face in the tunnel at midnight, not the controlled face, the other one, the one that showed up for 3 seconds and then went away. I think about the protein bar swap in the window seat and 2.5 seasons of a man doing kind things for me in a language he won't translate. I think, he's going to leave. He's going to pack himself into a box and move to Detroit, and in 2 years he'll be exactly the same man he is right now, just in different colors. He'll be excellent. He'll be controlled. He'll eat the right protein bars and skate perfect circles and never say the thing to anyone, ever. And I will have been the closest anyone got. That thought is the one that decides it. I'm going to tell you something, I say. My voice is calm. I'm not performing calm, I actually am, which surprises me a little. Like the decision to say it has already done the work of steadying me, like the words themselves are the thing I needed to stop being afraid of. Sam looks at me. You don't have to do anything with it, I say. I'm not asking for anything. I'm not putting this on you like a bill to be paid. I look at him directly. But I've been carrying it for 2 years and you're about to leave and I need you to have it before you go. Because whatever you decide, Detroit, here, wherever, I need you to decide it knowing the whole thing. Not just the parts you've given yourself permission to know. He is completely still. I say, I love you. No performance in it. No crescendo. No big declaration with my hands doing the thing they usually do when I feel something strongly. I just say it the way you say a true thing, directly, plainly, at the person it belongs to. I have loved you for a long time, I say. The way you take the aisle seat and give me the window. The way you fold protein bar wrappers into squares. The way you almost laugh and then catch it, and the one time you didn't catch it, and the way that one time has been living rent-free in my head for months. I pause. The way you skate at midnight when you think no one is watching. The way you know things about birds. I breathe. The way you said you deserved better in the dark of a motel room and then pretended you were asleep. Sam's hands have not moved. His face is doing something I don't have language for. Not the neutral one. Not gone. Something else entirely, something that looks like a man standing inside something enormous, not sure yet if it's going to hold. You don't have to say anything, I say. That's not what this is. You needed to have it. So now you have it. I look at him. The snow falls outside. He looks back at me with that expression I don't have language for, and his mouth opens, and I wait and I wait and I wait. The chapter ends here. Because some things need to sit in the room before they can be answered. Chapter 16. What he said and what I couldn't. Sam. He said it and I couldn't move. That's the honest account of what happened. He said it and I went somewhere inside myself that I don't have a map for, and I sat in his words the way you sit in a room after someone turns a light on, blinking, adjusting, not yet sure what you're seeing now that you can see it. I love you. I have been loved before. My parents love me. I know this. My father in his specific way that has walls in it, and my mother in her quiet relay system way, and a handful of teammates over the years who would take a hit for me on ice and meant it. I am not a man who has never been loved. But nobody has ever said it to me like that. Like a fact being delivered. Like something set down on the table between us, not thrown, not pressed into my hands, just placed there gently, available to me, no demand attached to it. You don't have to do anything with it. He said it like a man who has learned the difference between loving someone and asking someone to fix you with it, and I don't know when he learned that difference, but the learning of it is all through that sentence, every word of it. He left 20 minutes after. He stood up and he touched my shoulder once, just once, briefly, his hand through my sweatshirt, and then he went to the door and he said, "I'll see you at skate," and then he was gone, and the apartment was what it always is, except with the sound of his voice still in the air and his words still on the table, and me sitting in the chair by the window completely unable to account for what my body was doing. My face was wet. I wasn't aware of when that started. I didn't move for a long time. I sit in the apartment for 4 hours. I sit in the chair and I watch the snow and I do the inventory again, the same one from room 112, the same one from the rink at midnight, except this time it goes somewhere different. This time at the bottom of the list, past all the things I know and all the things I've filed away and all the walls I've built and called a house, at the very bottom, there it is. Leo loves me. Not as a fact I didn't know. As a fact I've known and not been allowed to keep. As something I put in the section marked "Do not open" so many times that I'd started to believe it wasn't really there. It's there. It has been there for 2 years, and he just put it on the table with both hands and said, "It's yours, I just need you to have it," and I sat in that chair and I couldn't say a word back, and he left, and I've been sitting here ever since. I think about Detroit. I think about packing. I think about the apartment I would find there, the new locker room, the new system, the new city where nobody knows my crossover mechanics or which protein bar has the right sodium content, or the fact that I give away the window seat for a reason I've never said out loud. I think about Leo watching me skate at midnight and feeling something on his face that he called grief. I think about my father's voicemail, still unheard, sitting in my phone like a room I haven't entered. I pick up the phone. I don't listen to the voicemail first. I call directly. He picks up on the third ring. It's after 9 his time. He'll have watched the evening news and be in his chair, the same one he's had my whole life, the recliner with the worn armrests that my mother keeps saying she'll replace and never does. Sam, his voice is careful in a way it doesn't usually bother to be. My father is not a careful speaker. He says what he has and trusts the room to take it. The carefulness tells me he's already decided something about this call. "Hey, Dad." A pause. Saw some things online. I know. People writing some, I don't know what to call it. Stories. His voice moves around the word stories the way it moves around anything he finds distasteful but doesn't want to be dramatic about. About you and Vasquez. I know what the articles say. Another pause. Longer. The particular length of a pause that means he's choosing. "It's nothing to worry about," he says. "These people, they see 2 guys who play well together and they." "Dad." He stops. I never interrupt my father. This is another rule so old it doesn't feel like one anymore. He speaks, I listen, I respond in full sentences when he's done. This is the grammar of us, always has been, and I just put a word in the middle of his sentence like a hand pressed flat on a table. He stops. I take a breath. I need you to listen to me for a second. The silence on his end is different now. Aware. The specific quality of a man who has lived with me for 26 years and knows when something is coming that hasn't come before. Okay, he says. Very quiet. There's something I've been carrying for a long time, I say. My voice is doing the rough thing at the bottom of it. The same thing it did in the tunnel outside the rink. I don't stop it. For the first time in a very long time I let it be rough. Something I've never said out loud to you. To anyone. I pause. And I'm not going to say all of it tonight. I'm not ready for all of it tonight. But I need you to know it exists. That I'm carrying it. That it's real. The recliner. The evening news turned off. The kitchen in Manitoba with its specific smell of his coffee and my mother's hand soap and the cold that comes through the door in November. My father breathes. Then he says, "Is it about the job?" He means Detroit. He's heard about the trade offer through the usual channels, agents talk, my uncle follows hockey news, it filters back. He means, are you unhappy, are you struggling, is this a hockey problem, is this something I can hand you the right tool for? He has filled the silence with the answer he can help with. He does not know he's done this. He is not doing it on purpose. He is a man who loves his son and has very specific equipment for showing it and nothing in the toolbox for this particular job, and so he reached for what he had. I close my eyes. I don't correct him. But here is what I also don't do, for the first time in 26 years of these calls, of this silence, of the grammar of us. I don't agree. I don't say yes, Dad, it's the trade, it's hockey, you're right, that's all it is. I don't give him the out. I don't take the wall that he's built between us and pretend it's a door. I just sit in it. I'll tell you more when I'm ready, I say. I just needed you to know. He's quiet. A long time. Long enough that I counted, 12 seconds, 13, 14. Okay, he says finally. His voice is different. Not better or worse. Different. The careful thing again, but carrying something heavier this time, the way careful sounds when it's protecting something that hasn't been named. Okay, Sam. We talk for 4 more minutes about nothing. The weather. The old men's league. He says work hard before he hangs up. I put the phone down. I sit in the chair. What I did there was not a coming out. It was not brave in the way that brave looks from the outside. It was one crack in one wall in a house full of walls, and it cost me every resource I had. But I didn't fill the silence with his answer. For Sam Calloway, that is an earthquake. I feel it in my legs. I feel it all the way through. I call Ray at 7 the next morning. Ray. I need 72 hours. A pause. Sam. 72 hours. Tell Detroit the decision is coming, but I need until Friday. They're going to. Tell them Friday. Please. A long pause. Ray has been my agent for 4 years. He knows something has shifted. He doesn't ask what. This is one of the reasons I trust him. Friday, he says. I'll hold them. I hang up. I put on my shoes. I go to find Leo. Chapter 17. He shows up. Leo. I'm not expecting anyone. That's not a metaphor. I mean it literally. I'm in my apartment at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday in sweatpants that I've had since college, eating cereal for dinner because I couldn't be bothered to cook, watching a cooking show with the specific irony of a man eating cereal while watching other people make food that looks like art. My hair is how it is when nobody is looking. My apartment is not in the state you'd want it in for company. I am not expecting company. When the knock comes, I think it's the neighbor. She knocks sometimes when her Wi-Fi goes out because she knows I'm good with routers, and I've fixed it 3 times, and at this point it's less a favor and more a recurring appointment. I get up from the couch with my cereal bowl still in my hand. I open the door. Sam is standing in the hallway. He's in a jacket over a sweatshirt and his hair is slightly wrong, like he drove with the window down or walked fast in the cold, and his hands are at his sides and he has the expression on his face of a man who rehearsed something and then lost the rehearsal on the way here. I look at him. He looks at me. I called my dad today, he says. My hand is on the door. The cereal bowl is in my other hand. I stay exactly where I am, not because I'm blocking the entrance but because I don't want a single movement from me to interrupt whatever this is, whatever he came here carrying, whatever is making his voice sound like that. Okay, I say. I didn't. He stops. Starts again. I didn't say everything. I don't have the whole thing yet. I don't know when I'll have the whole thing. His jaw works once. But I said something. The first something. For the first time in my life. I wait. I told him there was something I'd been carrying and that it was real. He looks at the doorframe. Then back at me. He gave me the wrong answer and I didn't correct him but I also didn't agree. I let it sit there. Without filling it in. He looks like it cost him. He looks like it cost him considerably, like he paid it out of reserves that were already running low, and he showed up here anyway, and he is looking at me from the hallway with his poorly assembled voice and his wind-shifted hair and an expression I've never seen before on his face, not open exactly, not yet, but the thing you see when a door has been unlocked for the first time. Not open. Unlocked. I don't know how to do this, he says. The rough thing is in his voice again, fully this time, not controlled. I don't know how to be a person who does this. I've never been that person. I don't know what the mechanics are. He breathes. But I think I want to learn. I think I've wanted to learn for 2 years and I've been terrified of it and I'm still terrified of it. A pause. But you said you loved me yesterday. And I sat in my apartment for 4 hours and I couldn't. I put the cereal bowl on the table inside the door. I take a step forward into the doorway and I take the front of his jacket in my hand and I pull him inside. Not hard. Not rushed. Just, in. Come in. Be here. Stop standing in the hallway like you're not allowed to be somewhere you've been trying to reach for 2.5 years. He comes. He's standing in my apartment now with my hand still in the fabric of his jacket and his unfinished sentence still in the air and neither of us moves. Just standing there in the entrance of my apartment with my hand in his jacket and the cooking show still going in the background and the cereal on the table and his breath evening out, slowly, like something that has been running for a very long time is finally allowed to stop. I don't say anything. I know better than to say anything right now. There are moments that words make smaller and this is one of them. This is a man who just crossed a distance that took him 26 years to cross and he doesn't need commentary. He needs the room to be still. He needs me to be here without requiring anything from the being here. I'm here. He is here. My hand is still in the front of his jacket because I haven't let go and he hasn't moved away and I am not going to do either of those things while he's standing like this, like a man who jumped from somewhere high and just realized the ground was closer than he thought, not hurt, just landing, still working out that he's down. I can feel him breathing. I can feel the warmth of him through the fabric. I let myself have this. Quietly. Just this, him in the entrance of my apartment, found, present, unlocked. His phone rings. The sound comes from his jacket pocket, sharp and immediate, and I feel him tense the way you tense at something breaking a silence you needed. He doesn't move. I look up at him. He looks down at me. His phone rings again. Answer it, I say. His eyes move, a question. Answer it, I say again. Steady. Because I know what's on the other end of the call and what it might mean and I am not going to be the reason he doesn't answer, I am not going to be the thing that stands between Sam Calloway and a decision he needs to make with a clear head and nothing owing to anyone. Not even me. Especially me. He reaches into his pocket. He looks at the screen. Ray Barker, agent. He looks at me one more time. I step back. Just enough. I pick up my cereal bowl. I look at him with everything I mean and nothing I'm requiring. He answers the phone. Chapter 18. What I decline. Sam. Ray. Call Detroit. A pause. Not a surprised pause. Ray has been my agent long enough that surprises are just information he processes differently. Sam. Tell them no. Longer pause this time. I hear him exhale through his nose, the specific exhale of a man who has done this job for 20 years and knows the difference between a client who needs to be talked through something and a client who has already arrived somewhere he can't be walked back from. This is a real offer, he says. Best you're going to see at this point in your... I know what it is, Ray. The money. I know what the money is. Leo is in the kitchen doorway with his arms crossed and his expression doing the neutral thing it does when he's giving me room, not watching, just present, not requiring anything, being available the way certain people know how to be available without turning it into a weight. I look at the wall above his couch. I'm not ready for a new system, I say. Different coach, different city, this point in the season, it's not the right move for my game. Silence on Ray's end. Tell them it's a hockey decision, I say. Because it is. It's also not only that. But Ray doesn't need the rest tonight and I don't have the rest available to give him tonight. What I have right now is this, Leo's apartment, the cereal bowl on the table, the cooking show still going on low in the background, and a decision that my agent needs to hear before I talk myself out of it. I'll call them tonight, Ray says, finally. He sounds like a man putting something down that he thought was going somewhere. You're sure? I'm sure. All right. A pause. Get me something good this second half of the season. I'm going to need the stats to back this up. Yeah, I say. I know. I hang up. Leo is still in the kitchen doorway. I look at him. He looks back. He doesn't ask. He doesn't congratulate me. He doesn't do any of the things a person might do when someone they love just made a decision that has them in it, and the not doing is one of the things I want to tell him, that his restraint in this specific moment is the kindest thing anyone has ever given me. Room to land. Space to arrive in without ceremony. You hungry? He says. I look at his cereal bowl. I almost laugh. I catch it, then I think about room 112 and the one time I didn't catch it and I decide to stop catching things tonight, at least this much. Not really, I say. Okay. He turns back into the kitchen. You want coffee? Yeah. I sit at his kitchen table while he makes it. His kitchen is the opposite of mine, a different kind of organized, the kind that means things are used constantly and put back approximately where they started. There are 3 mugs on the counter. A dish towel over the oven handle that has a faded lobster on it, which I have never asked about. A collection of takeout menus tucked into the side of the microwave even though he orders everything from his phone. He moves through the space the way he moves through all spaces, fully, without apology, like he belongs everywhere he is. I watch him. He puts a mug in front of me and leans against the counter with his own and I look down at the coffee and I think about everything that is in this kitchen right now that is not the coffee. 2 years of things put away. His front jacket in my hand when he pulled me inside. The rough thing in my voice when I said I think I want to try to learn. The word he used yesterday, sitting across from me in my apartment, put down on the table between us with both hands. I should probably tell you, I say, why I actually said no to that trade. Leo wraps both hands around his mug. He looks at me. Only if you want to. A pause. I wanted to stay, I say. He waits. Near you, I say. The words come out flat. Not because there's nothing in them, because there is so much in them that I have no performance left to put around them. Just the words, direct and undecorated, sitting in the kitchen between us the way his words sat in my apartment yesterday. Leo sets his coffee down. He doesn't say anything. He looks at me with an expression I am looking at directly for the first time, not cataloging, not filing, not pretending I'm not looking. Just looking. It's not triumph. It's not the relief of a thing finally said that you've been waiting for. It's something that doesn't have a clean name, something that lives past those. Quiet and certain and permanent, like bedrock. Like a thing that was there before either of us got to it and will be there after, regardless of what we do with it. He looks like a man who just found out the thing he already knew was actually true. He picks his coffee back up. Okay, he says. Not small. Not dismissive. The okay that means, I receive that. I'm holding it carefully. We don't have to make it more than it is right now and we don't have to make it less. I drink my coffee. He drinks his. Outside, the snow is still doing its quiet falling. The story breaks on a Thursday. Not the sports blog. Not the mid-level outlet. A major national platform, the kind with the traffic numbers that mean it goes from a hockey story to a general sports story to something that sits in the mainstream current for a news cycle. The headline is careful but pointed, "Out on the ice. How the NHL is quietly becoming a different league." Our names are in the third paragraph. The photo from the snowstorm is in the body of the piece alongside 3 other stories about other players in other sports. We are not the centerpiece. We are an example. That's almost worse in some ways, not a story someone set out to tell but a data point in a larger one, 2 names in a paragraph, the suggestion of something rather than the direct statement. My phone runs for 6 hours. I turn the notifications off at noon and put it in my jacket pocket and go to practice and do my job, which I do well, because this is the one thing that does not change regardless of what the world is doing outside the rink. Jenny texts me at 2, "GM wants you and Vasquez tomorrow morning. 9 a.m. Not urgent." His words, not mine. I text back, "Confirmed." I don't text Leo. He's already seen it. We are not yet in the place where I text him reflexively about every moving thing, though I notice the instinct. It's there, it showed up sometime in the last 2 days and hasn't left, the pull toward him when something happens, the reaching. I let the instinct be there. I don't act on it yet. One thing at a time. Chapter 19. The Management Meeting. LEO. I've been in Bill Garrett's office twice before. First time was when I signed my contract 3 years ago. Second time was when he told me about Sam's trade offer and asked me what losing him did to our line. Both times he was direct and both times he was respectful and neither time was comfortable, which I think is probably the point of the GM's office, not to be comfortable, but to be honest. Sam is already there when I arrive at 9. Sitting in the chair to the left of the desk in his practice jacket, hands in his lap, face doing its professional thing. He glances at me when I come in and something moves across his face, quick, private, before the professional thing reassembles. I sit in the other chair. Bill Garrett sits across from us. He folds his hands on the desk and he does what he always does, which is get directly to the thing without treating the room like it needs to be warmed up first. "I'll keep this short," he says. "The story has legs now. That's not news to either of you. My job isn't to involve myself in players' personal lives, it never has been, never will be. The organization's position is simple, you are both professionals, you are both under contract, and what you do outside this building is your business." He looks at us both evenly. "What I need to know is whether anything about your current personal situation affects your professional conduct or your line performance." The room is quiet for a moment. "Leo, I think." Then I realize I'm Leo. It takes me half a second to remember I'm in the room as Leo, not as someone watching Leo. This has been happening more often lately. I answer first. "It doesn't," I say. Bill looks at Sam. Sam is looking at the middle distance, just slightly past the GM's shoulder, the specific angle of a man who is making a decision in real time. I have 2 years of watching him make decisions. I know the speed of this one. A beat. One full beat. "It doesn't," Sam says. Bill nods. Once. The nod of a man who has heard what he needed. "Good," he says. "That's what I needed to hear. The organization will be neutral publicly, no statements, no press positioning, no drawing attention to what is frankly none of the press's business. If either of you gets a question in media that you need guidance on, talk to our communications team first." He pauses. "Any questions?" "No," I say. Sam says nothing. He shakes his head once. "Then we're done," Bill says. He stands. We stand. He shakes our hands, mine, then Sam's, and we walk out. The hallway outside Bill Garrett's office is the same hallway as always. Carpet and overhead lighting and the distant sound of the building working, ventilation, footsteps, a TV in the players' lounge 2 floors down. Ordinary building sounds. Sam and I walk about 20 feet in silence. Then he stops. I stop. He's looking at the wall. Not at me. The wall, like it has the answer to something on it. "That was the first time," he says. I wait. "The first time I've ever implied it." His jaw works. "To someone who wasn't you." I look at him. He's still looking at the wall, and the working of his jaw is the thing it does when he's processing something large in a small space, trying to keep the large thing from taking up more room than he has available. It felt like falling, he says. Like falling off something. His voice has that rough quality again. Not breaking. Sam Calloway's voice doesn't break. I don't think it knows how. I think it just goes rough at the bottom, and that's the version of breaking that he has. I have learned to hear it. I have learned that it means more than the clean version. I look at him for a moment. Did it feel like a bad fall or a good one? I ask. He's quiet for long enough that I count it. 4 seconds. 5. He looks away from the wall and at me. Finally, directly, the way he does it now, not the cataloging look, not the measuring look. Just looking. Ask me in a week, he says. Something loosens in my chest. Not relief, more specific than that. The feeling of a gear catching. Something that was spinning finding purchase. I nod. We start walking again. We are 10 feet down the hall when I hear it. A door. The supply room on the left, slightly ajar, which it wasn't when we came through. I notice things. It's the Four Sisters thing. I always know where everyone on the floor is. The door is slightly more open than it was. I don't say anything. I don't look back. I keep walking next to Sam, and I think about the door and who might have been behind it and how much of a hallway conversation carries through a door that's ajar, and I file it in the section of my brain marked wait and see. We walk out into the corridor toward the main training area. Sam's shoulder is 3 inches from mine. I don't move away from it. He doesn't either. Chapter 20. What Derek Holt does with what he heard. Sam. I know the sound of Derek Holt coming into a locker room. He has a specific walk, heavy, deliberate, the walk of a man who takes up exactly the space he's entitled to and knows the exact dimensions of that space. I have been hearing it for 3 seasons. I know it the way I know the soft patch in the Pittsburgh Ice and the brand of protein bar that has 200 milligrams of sodium. The body catalogs what it needs to survive a room. I'm at my stall on Tuesday morning, tape in my hands, working the blade of my stick the way I do before every skate. 3 passes, consistent tension, start at the toe, when I hear it. He comes in. He goes to his stall. The usual noise of the locker room continues around him, music, the equipment manager sorting shin pads, 2 of the second-line guys running through something about the Colorado penalty kill from last night's film session. I tape my stick. I hear his footsteps change direction. I know before he sits down that he's going to sit down. He takes the spot next to me, not his stall, just the bench space, the way players do sometimes when they want a conversation that isn't broadcast to the whole room. He sits and puts his elbows on his knees and looks at his skates, and I wait. I am very good at waiting. Leo said I narrate instead of talk, and he was right, but he left out the other thing, which is that I am also very good at staying still while someone else figures out how to begin. Derek looks at his skates for a long time. The locker room continues around us. Nobody is watching. This is one of the things about a locker room, it is simultaneously the most public and the most private space, full of people and full of its own specific etiquette about where eyes go. I got a cousin, Derek says. His voice is lower than usual. Not a whisper, Derek Holt doesn't whisper, I don't think he's physically capable of it, but quieter. The volume of a man who is saying something he doesn't want the room to have. He never told the family, Derek says. Spent his whole life, he stops. He looks at his skates. He picks up a piece of tape from beside him on the bench, turns it over in his hands. Sets it back down. He passed about 4 years ago. Heart thing, nothing, he clears his throat. Nothing related. But I think about it sometimes. That he never told us. I do not move. I hold the stick in my hands and I look at my own skates and I let him be in this without interrupting it. I'm not saying I'm perfect, he says. He says it with the flatness of a man who has thought about this specific sentence long enough that the emotion has been worn off it, leaving just the words. I know how I talk. I know the things I say in this room. He pauses. I'm not saying I'm going to be different overnight. I'm saying I'm not going to be the problem. The locker room noise moves around us. He stands up. He puts his hand on my shoulder once, the same way he did it the morning after the first article, except completely different, the same gesture wearing entirely different weight this time, and then he walks back to his stall. I sit there. The tape is in my hands. I look at it. I think about Paul Garrett and donuts and my father's voice saying feel sorry for him, and I think about a cousin who spent his whole life, and I think about Derek Holt's face just now, not guilty, not performing anything, just a man who has been thinking about something for 4 years and needed to put it somewhere. I think about the walls I've been building. I think about how the materials were always real, my father's silence, the locker room, the rink culture, Derek's voice in the hallway, and how the walls were built from real things, and how that means they are real walls, and how real walls are not nothing, and how also, Derek Holt just sat down next to me and quietly dismantled one brick. One brick. The rest of the wall is still standing. My father still has his voicemail and his recliner and the grammar of us that I have not yet rewritten. The sports story is still in the mainstream current. I have not stood in front of a microphone and said a true thing about myself. The world has not changed. But one brick. I sit for 10 minutes after Derek goes back to his stall. The locker room empties toward the ice around me, and I sit there until I'm the last one inside, which is fine, which is mine. Then I pick up my stick. I go to the ice. Leo is already on the far end running edge work when I step out of the tunnel. The morning skate is starting, coaches on the boards, players finding their lines, the usual warm-up noise of blades and pucks, and the particular energy of a group of men who are good at something preparing to be good at it. I push off from the boards. I skate the perimeter once, finding my legs, reading the ice, fresh cut today, the surface holding beautifully, the kind of ice that gives you everything back. My edges are good. My left shoulder is loose. The stick sits right in my hands. I come around the far end. Leo comes out of his edge drill, and we are suddenly on the same line of ice, moving in the same direction, the way we end up on the same line of ice because after 3 seasons our bodies know this rink and know each other's position in it the way they know the soft patch in Pittsburgh, without thinking, without deciding, just arriving at the same place at the same time. He glances at me. I glance at him. No words. We are on ice. We don't need them here. I send him a pass, not a drill, not a set play, just a pass to where he's going, the weight and timing of it automatic and precise. He takes it without breaking stride. He moves it back. I catch it and he's already where I'm going to put the next one, and I put it there and he takes it, and it goes on like this for 30 seconds of the most natural, effortless, fluid thing I do in my life. From the bench, Coach Peterson watches. From the boards, Marcus Webb watches. On the ice, nobody says anything because there's nothing to say. The puck moves. We move. It's exactly what it's always been, and it's also something else now, something additional, like a familiar song being played in a room where the acoustics are different and you're hearing parts of it for the first time. Marcus Webb leans on his stick. He watches us run the give and go for the 3rd time in a row without being asked to. He allows himself something that, from a distance, looks like a smile. He doesn't say anything about it. He doesn't have to. Chapter 21. Game night. LEO. There are moments in a game that exist outside the game. You can't plan for them. You can't train for them. They happen in the middle of everything else, the crowd noise, the clock, the scoreboard, the weight of what the result means, and inside all of that noise they are somehow completely still. Like a room inside a storm. Like the eye of it. You are in the game and then you are in this other thing and you don't fully come back the same. I've had 2 of them in my career. 3, after tonight. The Colorado Avalanche game is the one that matters most this week. Division standings, playoff seeding, the kind of game where every shift adds up and the margin for error is thin as paper. We've been building toward this for 3 weeks, since the Derek conversation, since the management meeting, since Sam stood in my apartment doorway with the wind in his hair and his voice in pieces and I pulled him inside by his jacket. We haven't talked about what we are. We haven't needed to. Something settled between us in the kitchen over coffee that night, not decided, not labeled, just settled, the way sediment settles in water that has stopped being disturbed. Present. Permanent. Not announced. On ice we are what we have always been, except the 2% is gone. That's the only way I can describe it. The 98 that was always real is still real, and the 2% that was the gap, the thing neither of us named, the space where the distance lived, it's just gone. Not replaced by anything dramatic. Just gone, the way a draft disappears when you finally find the crack and close it. The room is simply warmer now. Coach Peterson noticed. He didn't say anything to us directly. He said something to his assistant that I overheard from the tunnel. Whatever shifted, it shifted right, and left it there. Marcus said, "You look different on the ice." I said, "Better different or worse different?" He looked at me the way Marcus looks at things that don't need more than one answer. "Just different," he said. "Like you stopped holding something." That's about right. The game is tied 2-2 going into the third. Colorado is good, fast and physical and disciplined, the kind of team that makes you earn everything twice. Their top pair of defensemen have been on us all night, disrupting the cycle, cutting off the left side give and go that Sam and I have been running all season. We adjust. We always adjust. The third period starts with the rink at full noise, the crowd in it, the scoreboard delivering its equal and unresolved verdict, and I am on the left bench waiting for my shift and watching Sam at center ice battling for position with the focus of a man who has removed everything from the room except what the room requires. He looks good. He's looked good all month. His numbers over the last 3 weeks are the kind of numbers that get put in analyst articles and broadcast discussions and my personal internal catalog that I maintain whether I want to or not. The shift change comes. I go over the boards. We cycle for a minute and a half without creating anything clean. Colorado's defense is disciplined, the gaps closing before we can use them. I work the boards. Sam works the half wall. Danny finds a seam and loses it. We reset and come again. The Colorado defenseman, Brouwer, big left shot, been in the league 12 years, steps up on Sam along the right wall. I see it coming. I see it the way you see plays developing, from the peripheral reading you build over years of watching ice, Brouwer's angle, his speed, the way Sam is loaded on the wrong foot for the contact that's coming. It's a legal hit. I want to be clear about that. Body to body, in the right zone, nothing dirty about it. Clean and heavy and the kind of play that belongs in this game. Sam takes it full. His head doesn't go into the boards, his shoulder does, then his hip, and he goes down hard, and the sound of it is the sound that silences arenas. Not all at once. In a wave. The crowd noise drops through the register like someone turning a dial, from full to low to a specific waiting quiet that means everyone in the building is looking at the same spot on the ice and holding something. I am already moving. I don't make the calculation. I don't assess the situation or check the clock or consider how it looks. I am moving toward him before the thought forms, blades on ice, the 20 feet between us closing in the time it takes to decide nothing. I drop to one knee beside him. His helmet is still on. His gloves are still on. He's on his side on the ice and his eyes are closed for the 2 seconds it takes me to get there, and those 2 seconds are the 2 longest seconds of my life to date, and I am aware of this and not embarrassed by it. I put my hand on his chest. On the jersey, over the pads, just there. Present. I've got you, I say. Low, just for him, under the crowd noise and the officials calling the play dead and the coaches yelling from the bench. You're fine. Look at me. His eyes open. He looks at me. The arena is noise. The ice is cold. His breath is coming in controlled pulls, not panicked, not gone, the breath of a man who took a hit and is accounting for the damage the way he accounts for everything, systematically and without excess. He looks at me. I look back. There you are, I say. He blinks once. Something passes through his face, not the professional nothing, not the controlled assembly. The actual thing. For one unguarded second on the ice in front of 18,000 people, Sam Calloway looks at me with the full weight of everything that has been building since a rest stop parking lot in a snowstorm outside Columbus, Ohio, and it is directed entirely at me and I hold it without looking away. Then the trainer is there and the referee is there and the moment is exactly as long as it needed to be and no longer. Sam puts his hand on the ice. He pushes up. He gets to his feet under his own power, which he would always do even if it cost him, which tonight it doesn't. He shakes out his shoulder, rolls his neck, and skates to the bench without assistance. The arena comes back up. I stand on the ice for a second. My hand is still in the position it was when I was touching his jersey. I skate to the bench. 4 minutes and 12 seconds left in the game. Sam is on the ice. His ribs are going to be something tomorrow. I can see it in the way he's loading slightly off-center, the weight distribution a fraction off what it should be, but his edges are solid and his head is up and he is reading the ice the way Sam reads the ice, which is to say completely. Colorado's defense is defending a 1-goal lead that they don't have yet because nobody has scored since the second period and it's 2-2 and it's going to stay that way unless someone does something about it. Sam does something about it. It happens in the left circle. He gets the puck from Danny off a board battle, not a clean feed, a scrambled one, the kind of pass that requires you to improvise in half a second, and he's already loading before his feet fully set. The Colorado defenseman moves to close the angle. Sam's feet move under him in the way his feet always move, the adjustment so quick it's almost not visible unless you know his game the way I know his game. He shoots. Wrist shot, left circle, the exact shot he has been putting on net since he was 4 years old in a Manitoba driveway. Loaded and released in a motion so practiced it belongs to muscle memory rather than decision. It goes off the post. It goes in. The light comes on. The arena does what arenas do when the home team scores with 3 minutes left in a tied divisional game, which is lose its mind completely and entirely, and the bench comes over the boards, and I come over the boards, and I reach him second because I am always second and tonight I don't care at all about that. He turns from the boards and I grab the back of his helmet. This is what teammates do. Everyone does it. There is a specific physics to the goal celebration, the grab, the shake, the impact of bodies in full gear colliding in joy, the noise of it. I have done it 100 times. I grab the back of his neck instead. Through the collar of his helmet, my hand on the back of his neck, and I hold it 1 beat longer than the hockey version of this. 1 beat past professional. 1 beat that is entirely its own thing. His hand comes up. He grabs my jersey at the shoulder. We are in the middle of the ice with 18,000 people around us and he is holding my jersey at the shoulder and I have his neck in my hand and for exactly 2 seconds this celebration is not a hockey thing and both of us know it and neither of us says a word about it. Danny crashes into both of us from behind and the moment disperses into noise and motion and the business of finishing a hockey game, and we finish it, and we win, and in the locker room afterward I sit at my stall and look at my hands and think, there it is. There it finally is. Chapter 22. The press conference. Sam. My ribs are going to be something tomorrow. I know this the way I know all body things, not with dread, just as information, a fact to be managed. Ice and anti-inflammatories and 2 days of modified practice, and by the time we play again they'll be in the manageable category. I've had worse. Every player in this locker room has had worse. I'm sitting at my stall after the game and around me the room is the winning version of itself, not wild, not reckless, but deeply satisfied, the specific contentment of men who did the difficult thing and got the right result. Danny is singing something under his breath that nobody asked him to. Marcus Webb has his feet up and his eyes closed and the expression of a man completing a transaction with the universe. Petrov is on his phone, texting with both thumbs, which is how Petrov expresses happiness. Leo is across the room. He glanced at me when we came in from the ice. Not the catalog look. The other one, the one I spent 2 years filing away that I'm not filing anymore. I hold it for 2 seconds. I look at my skates. My ribs remind me they exist. The media session starts at 10:15. This is standard, post-game, significant divisional win, the game-winning goal is mine, so I'm expected in front of the recorders. I've done hundreds of these. I know the format, the tempo, the rhythm of questions and answers that moves through a post-game media session like a script everyone pretends isn't a script. You give them the game. You give them the team. You give them the moment. You say credit to the guys and we played our game and it's one game at a time and you walk out. I know all of this. I stand at the podium in my post-game shirt and I look at the recorders and the phones and the 2 cameras in the back and the 12 reporters with their notebooks and I run it like I always run it. The game questions are easy. The third period, the goal, the Colorado matchup, what we need to maintain going into the next week. I answer them the way I answer all of them, directly, accurately, without elaboration. Then the room does the thing I knew it was going to do. A reporter in the second row, I don't know her name, I've seen her at 3 or 4 of these, hockey beat writer for a publication I recognize, leans forward slightly. The lean that means she's been waiting for her moment. Sam, there's been a lot of coverage over the last few weeks about your personal life and your relationship with Leo Vasquez. Can you speak to any of that? The room goes the specific quiet of a room where everyone is pretending they didn't want this question asked. Our communications team's rep is standing to my left. I don't look at her. I know she's there. I know she has talking points printed on an index card in her pocket that she's been hoping not to use tonight. My father is probably watching on a stream from Manitoba. I look at the recorder on the podium in front of me. It is a small silver rectangle, a thing that exists only to collect what I put into it. It has no opinion. It asks nothing. It just waits. I think about a truck cab in Manitoba. A radio turned up. 16 miles of silence. I think about a recliner and a voicemail and I love you, son. We can talk when you're ready. Not perfect. Enough for right now. I think about Leo's hand in the back of my neck on the ice 2 hours ago. One beat past professional. Both of us knowing it. Neither of us pretending otherwise. I think about what it cost me to be this quiet for this long. What it built and what it kept out and what I'm holding that I couldn't hold forever and what I have now, carefully and impermanently and with more territory left to cover than behind me, but what I have. I look at the recorder. I'm not going to talk about my personal life in specifics, I say. That's not something I do and it's not something I'm going to start tonight. I pause. The room is very quiet. What I'll say is this, I say. I'm a better player this season than I've ever been. And I'm happy. I'm genuinely happy. The word feels strange in my mouth in public. Not wrong. Strange the way anything feels the first time you use it the way it's supposed to be used. And I'm going to keep being happy regardless of what anyone writes about it. I say it looking directly at the recorder. Not a coming out speech. Every person in this room can hear that it's not. There are no declarations, no specifics, nothing I can be quoted on with certainty. It's careful. I'm still careful. I don't know if I'll ever stop being careful entirely and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But it's not a denial. It's not the flat professional deflection that closes the door and locks it. It's not nothing is happening. It's not the narration instead of the talking. It's something else, something that sits in the space between what I've always said and what I would need to say the full true thing, and it is the most honest sentence I have ever put into a recorder in my career. The room's temperature shifts. Not dramatically. Not with noise. Just a change in the air, the way air changes when something moves through it that wasn't there before. The communications rep's index card stays in her pocket. 3 more questions. I answer them about hockey. I step back from the podium. I walk to the door. My phone has 43 new notifications. I see the number when I take it out of my jacket pocket in the hallway outside the media room. I don't open the pile, I know what's in it and I'll deal with it when I have more floor under me. I scroll past it to the top of the notification stack, looking for nothing specifically, and that's when I see it. A text from my father. It came in 20 minutes ago, which means he was watching the stream, which means he saw the press conference, which means he heard the answer I gave to the question about my personal life. I stop walking. I read it. Sam. I don't know everything yet. But I love you, son. We can talk when you're ready. 7 words at the end that are doing everything. I don't know everything yet. Not I don't know what you're talking about. Not I don't believe what they're writing. Not the filling in with the safe answer the way he did on the phone. I don't know everything yet. Which means he knows something. Which means he has been knowing something, maybe for longer than I gave him credit for, and has been doing his own version of sitting in the silence of it, the way we both sit in things, the way we are the same person in this specific and terrible way. We can talk when you're ready. Not call me, not explain yourself, not the direct request I've been bracing for. A door left open. My father, who builds walls the way I build walls, leaving a door open. Just the one. Just this one. It's not everything. It is so far from everything. There is a conversation that hasn't happened yet that is going to require more of me than anything else I've done, and it's coming, and I'm not ready for it yet, and that's allowed, and he's telling me it's allowed in the only vocabulary he currently has. It's enough. Right now, in this hallway, having just said the most honest public thing of my career, with 43 notifications and a bruised rib and Leo's hand still somehow present on the back of my neck even though it was 2 hours ago, it's enough. I put the phone in my pocket. I go looking for Leo. Chapter 23. What we actually are. Leo. I'm in the equipment room. Not for any particular reason. I was looking for the athletic trainer to check my left knee, which had been slightly off all through the third period, and I wanted eyes on before tomorrow's skate, and she was busy in the treatment room with 3 other players, and I said I'd come back, and instead of going back to the locker room or the players' lounge, I ended up in the equipment room because it was quiet and I needed 5 minutes of quiet. The equipment room is approximately the least romantic space in any arena. Jersey bags on hooks along one wall. Skate drying racks on the other. Extra pads stacked in no particular aesthetic order. It smells like rubber and damp cotton and the specific industrial cleaner they use on the floors. There is a single overhead light that buzzes faintly. I sit on the edge of the supply shelf and eat a protein bar, the wrong one, 210 milligrams. Sam is going to have something to say about that, and I listen to the building wind down around me. The distant crowd sound is gone. The arena has done what arenas do when the thing is over. It exhales, settles back into its ordinary self, the size of an empty building reclaiming the space that the game temporarily filled. I think about his hand on my jersey. I think about the ice in the crowd and his eyes opening when I said, "Look at me." The door opens. Sam comes in. He's in his post-game shirt, no jacket, phone in his hand. He sees me and he stops for a half second, the quick recalibration of finding a person where you didn't expect one, and then he comes the rest of the way in and lets the door close behind him. We look at each other. "Trainer," he says. "She was busy." "I'm fine." I look at him. "Your ribs. Tomorrow's problem." That's what everyone says before the ribs become today's problem. I know my ribs. You know everything about your body except when to admit it's telling you something. He looks at me for a moment with the expression he has now, the one that isn't the neutral face, isn't the measuring face, the one that showed up gradually over the last month and sits differently on him, less guarded, less assembled. He looks like himself, which sounds like a small thing and isn't. I watch the press conference feed, I say. On my phone, in here. He's still. "Sam." He looks at the floor. "That was, what you said was," I stop. I don't have clean language for what it was because the clean language doesn't fit it, and putting it in clean language would make it smaller than it is. "It was the bravest thing I've ever seen you do," I say. "And I've watched you take a hit at full speed and get back up and score the game winner, so that's a real competition." He makes a sound, something between a laugh and an exhale, something that comes from deep enough that I don't think he controlled it. He looks at me. "I need you to know," he says, "that I'm not fully there yet." His voice has the rough quality at the bottom, the real one. "I don't know how long it's going to take. The whole thing. I don't know how long." He pauses. "I know that's not. Sam." He stops. I look at him directly. Fully. No patience left between us to perform, no distance to maintain. "I'm not asking you to be fully anywhere," I say. I have never asked that. I keep my voice even because one of us should be even right now and I'm a little better at it than him, in this direction, in this room. "I'm asking you to stop lying to yourself." That's all I've ever been asking. A pause. Everything else is details. He looks at me. The equipment room hums around us. The jersey bags hang on their hooks. The overhead light buzzes. He takes a step. He raises his right hand and he touches my jaw. One hand. Uncertain, not shaking, not dramatic, just the careful movement of a man not sure yet where his body ends and his fear begins, reaching anyway, his palm against my jaw, his thumb at the corner of my cheekbone. He touches me the way you touch something you've been afraid to touch for so long that finally touching it is almost louder than the fear itself. I don't move. I don't breathe. I let him have this exactly the way he needs to have it, without rush, without direction, without anything from me except being here, being still, being the thing he's been reaching toward for 2.5 years. "I've been wanting to do that," he says, "since the first time we were on the same line." His voice is barely above quiet. I look at him. That was 2.5 years ago. I know. He says it simply. Not with guilt, not with apology for the time, just with the plain acknowledgement of it, I know. 2 words that hold the snowstorm and the motel room and the hallway in Buffalo and the rink at midnight and his father's voicemail and Derek Holt sitting down to say a quiet thing about his cousin and every window seat on every flight for 8 months. I know. I move my hand. I put it over his, the one at my jaw, just resting there, his hand and my hand, both of us exactly where we are. Okay, I say. Quiet. Then let's stop waiting. He kisses me. It is not graceful. His nose bumps mine first and he adjusts and I adjust and there is a moment where both of us are figuring out the geometry of this, which should be awkward and somehow isn't, somehow is just true, 2 people finding a thing that has been waiting to be found, present in the space between them the entire time. My back finds the equipment room wall. Jersey bags on one side of us. The stack of practice pads on the other. The overhead light buzzing. He has both hands on my face now and I have mine on his jacket and it is not a performance, there is no one to perform for, there is nothing to aim it at, there is just this, just us, just the thing that has been waiting in every hotel room and every airplane and every empty rink and every protein bar wrapper folded into a precise square for the last 2.5 years. It is not a beautiful first kiss in the way those things are supposed to be beautiful. It is better than that. It is completely, specifically, entirely true. He pulls back first. Not far. An inch. He stays where he is with his hands still on my face and his forehead against mine and his eyes closed, and I stay too, and neither of us says anything, and the equipment room buzzes its low buzz, and outside this room the world is what it always is and will still be there when we go back to it, with all of what it carries, the article and the press conference and his father's text and the work ahead and the things not yet said and the distance still to be covered. But right now it is just this room. Just us. Just 2.5 years finally, completely, landed. He opens his eyes. He looks at me from 1 inch away with an expression I have never seen on his face and will spend the rest of my life being glad I saw. Hi, I say. Something breaks wide open across his face, not the almost laugh, not the caught one, the full, real thing, sudden and unguarded and completely his. He laughs. In the equipment room of a hockey arena, with jersey bags at our backs and the buzzing light above us, Sam Calloway laughs like a man who just set down something he's been carrying since he was 16 years old. Hi, he says back. Chapter 24. The window seat. Sam. 3 weeks is not a long time. I want to say that clearly because I don't want to give the impression that the equipment room fixed everything, that one kiss against a wall between jersey bags and practice pads resolved 26 years of carefully constructed silence. It didn't. That's not how any of this works and I would know by now if it did. What 3 weeks is, exactly, is a beginning. It's Sunday calls with my father that have started going 5 minutes longer than they used to. Not because we've had the conversation, we haven't, not fully, the full conversation is still ahead of us the way a difficult game is still ahead of you when you're in the locker room getting dressed, present and coming and requiring something you're going to have to find when you get there. We haven't had it. But the calls are different now. He asks how I'm doing before he tells me how I'm doing, which is small and enormous simultaneously. 3 weeks is Leo 4 doors down in our building, and my kitchen, and the specific way time passes differently when you stop spending most of it managing the distance between yourself and something you want. 3 weeks is waking up in the morning and the first thought not being catalogued and filed. Just, there. Aloud. It doesn't mean the walls are down. I'm not going to tell you the walls are down because I've lived inside them for too long to dismantle them in 3 weeks and I'm not sure I know how yet and I'm not sure I need to take them all the way down. Some walls are just structure, some walls are just how a room holds together. What I'm learning is the difference between those and the ones that were keeping people out. That's 3 weeks. That's enough for now. The Tampa trip is 4 games in 5 days. The Southern swing, Tampa, Miami, Orlando, Atlanta. Jenny has the logistics running as smoothly as Jenny always runs logistics, which is to say completely, and the team buses to the airport at 6:15 in the morning on a Tuesday with the specific grumbling energy of men who are morning functional but not morning enthusiastic. I'm on the plane early. This requires no decision. I board, I find the row, I put my bag in the overhead, and I sit down. I take the aisle seat. The plane fills around me. Danny Kowalski drops into the row ahead and immediately reclines his seat to its full capacity, which is 1.5 inches, but he does it with commitment. Marcus Webb takes the window 2 rows back. Petrov sits next to no one by choice, which the team has accepted as simply Petrov's thing. Leo boards with his bag over one shoulder and his jacket over his arm and his hair the way it is when he hasn't bothered with it, which is how it is most mornings, which I have stopped pretending I don't have feelings about. He moves down the aisle and finds our row and looks at the seat configuration. He looks at me. I'm in the aisle seat. He goes still in the way you go still when something that has been true for a long time suddenly has a different shape in the light. You always take the aisle, he says. He is not saying it as an accusation or a question. He is saying it the way you say a thing when you have just understood what it means, not for the first time, but for the first time completely. I look up at him. The private comedy of it moves through me, all of it, 8 months of it, every flight, every window I gave up without acknowledging it was a thing I was giving, this man standing in the aisle of a plane at 6:20 in the morning figuring out what I've been doing, and the expression on his face, and the fact that we are about to have this tiny enormous moment in row 14 of a commercial charter surrounded by 22 hockey players and assorted staff. Sit down, Vasquez, I say. He looks at me for one more second. The expression on his face does something I'm not going to try to describe except to say it's warm and it's his and it is completely directed at me in the specific way things are directed at you by people who love you. He sits down. In the aisle seat. Right next to me. He puts his bag under the seat in front of him. He adjusts his jacket on his lap. He settles in. And then, without any announcement, without making it a thing, he tips sideways and puts his head on my shoulder. It lasts about 2 seconds. Then he sits back up, completely straight, and looks at the seat back pocket in front of him with the expression of a man who did not just do that. I look at the same seat back pocket. The plane finishes boarding. The engines start their low build. The flight attendant goes through the safety demonstration that nobody watches, and outside the window the tarmac moves slowly past and then the city moves slowly past and then we are lifting and everything goes to the angle of ascent, the ground falling away. I look at the window. Through it, past Leo, I can see the city below, Minneapolis, the grid of it, the river, the stadium, the rink somewhere in it, the building where there is an equipment room with a buzzing light and jersey bags on hooks that I am now never going to be able to look at the same way. Below that, somewhere, Manitoba. My father in his recliner. The truck with the worn seat. The 16-mile drive I've taken in my head 10,000 times. The plane levels out. The clouds come up to meet us and then the city is gone beneath them, white and soft and total. My hand moves. I don't decide it. The same way I didn't decide to board early for 8 months, the same way I didn't decide to step off the bus and stand in a snowstorm because Leo wanted to feel it, the same way I stepped into an equipment room doorway after a press conference and let my palm find his jaw, the decision is already made before I'm aware of making it. My hand moves along the armrest between us until it finds Leo's. He doesn't look at me. I don't look at him. His hand turns under mine, just slightly, and his fingers close around my hand, and we sit in row 14 of a charter flight at 32,000 feet and hold on to each other beneath the armrest where no one needs to see it, and that's fine, that's enough. I am not there yet and he knows I'm not there yet and he holds my hand anyway. The clouds below us are flat and white and continuous, no seam in them, the world underneath completely out of sight. I watch them. I think about the window seat. About all the flights I've sat on the aisle watching Leo press his forehead to the glass and go quiet with altitude, that specific stillness he only has in the air. I think about what I was trying to protect by keeping the window for him, and what I was trying to protect by keeping the aisle for myself, and how the whole architecture of it made a kind of sense at the time. I think about my father's text. I think about Derek's cousin who spent his whole life. I think about Leo in a motel room saying you don't come out of that the same. I think about the equipment room and his jaw under my hand and the laugh that came out of me against a wall between jersey bags, the full one, uncontrolled, the one that belonged to a person I had not given permission to exist until that room. I am not all the way there yet. I am further than I've ever been. I look at the clouds and I hold Leo's hand and I think, I was always going to end up here. I just took the long way. Epilogue. 1 year later. Leo. Here is what I know about Sam Calloway now that I have known him for 3 years and 2 months and however many days since a snowstorm outside Columbus changed the geometry of everything. He still takes his coffee black with both hands around the cup. He still hates artificial coconut with a specific and personal intensity. He still sleeps with his phone face down, but now it's on my nightstand sometimes, which is the version of that habit I prefer. He has not held a press conference. He has not given an interview. He has not stood in front of a microphone and said the complete true thing about himself, and that's not a failure, it's a pace, and the pace is his, and I am not the person who decides what it should be. The world has largely made its own decision about us, the way the world does when two people stop hiding something without explicitly confirming it. We are what the internet calls confirmed but private, which is a modern kind of peace that took some getting used to and which I have now gotten used to. His father calls on Sundays. I know this because I'm often in the apartment when it happens, our apartments, still separate, 4 doors apart, a distance that functions more as a technicality than an actual arrangement at this point. Sam steps away for the call the way he always has. But the calls are longer now. Not every week, some weeks they are still the same short exchange, hockey and weather and a flat work hard before the hang-up. But some weeks I hear the tone of his voice change in the other room, go from the grammar of them that is old and practiced into something that has room in it, and I sit in the kitchen and eat my cereal and let the room be what it needs to be. He told me after one of those calls, standing in the kitchen doorway with his phone in his hand, I said something tonight. He didn't say what. I didn't ask. He sat down and ate the rest of my cereal and we watched television and at some point his hand found mine on the couch and stayed there. That's the accumulation of it. That's how it goes, not in speeches, not in a single defining moment, but in Sundays, in kitchen doorways, in the specific gravity of a hand on a couch at 9 p.m. Two stubborn people who love each other badly learning to do better. Progress is not a clean line. It's more like the way ice forms, slowly, from the outside in, the surface hardening first and the core catching up. On the ice, there are no honest words for it except the ones the broadcast guys use, which I used to find embarrassing and have now simply accepted as accurate. The best line chemistry in the conference. Again. Still. The analytics columns have started using us as a case study for something, which Danny Kowalski has printed out and framed unironically in his locker. Marcus Webb takes full credit. He has been taking full credit for approximately 8 months and nobody has corrected him because the alternative is having a conversation that Marcus would handle beautifully and thoughtfully, which is somehow worse than letting him believe he engineered the whole thing through strategic observation and well-timed comments about how Sam doesn't fight. He knows he didn't engineer it. He's Marcus. He sees everything. He just loves the bit. Derek Holt does not speak of it. Not ever, not once, not to us, not to the room, not in any form I've been able to detect in a year of paying attention. This is, in its own way, respect. Not the loud kind, not the kind that needs an audience. The kind that costs a man something quiet and private and that he pays without announcement. I think about his cousin sometimes. I don't say that to anyone. I just think about him. It's a Tuesday morning in January. The arena is cold the way it's cold in January, the kind that gets into the floor and stays there, and the warm-up skate has been going for 10 minutes. I'm at the far end running the left wing retrieval drill, blade angles, the kind of morning work that belongs to muscle memory and requires about 30% of your brain, which leaves the other 70% for things like watching the ice. Sam is at center working with Danny on a timing pattern for the second period power play. His edges are clean. His left shoulder is loose, finally, fully healed from the hit in November, which took longer than he told anyone and which I found out about from the trainer rather than from him, which we discussed once and which I decided not to be bothered by because it is just very specifically Sam. I watch him the same way I have always watched him. From the first week we were line mates. The same angle, the same quality of attention, the same thing in my chest that I stopped calling inconvenient about 14 months ago and just started calling mine. He is talking to Danny about the timing, demonstrating with a stick tap, 2 taps, the signal, which he developed our first season and which has never failed, and then he turns to skate back to reset and he catches me. He catches me looking. This used to be the moment where he would make his face do the thing, the flat professional nothing, the going neutral, the immediate filing of what he'd seen and been seen doing. That moment where he would look at me and then look away and take whatever had been in that look and put it somewhere I couldn't follow. He doesn't do that. He looks at me. He just looks at me. From across the ice, in the middle of a warm-up skate on a Tuesday morning in January, Sam Calloway looks at me and lets me see him doing it. Not with any particular performance, not a smile, not a statement. Just his face, looking at my face, nothing between them. He lets me see him. I don't look away either. It lasts about 3 seconds before Danny says something that requires Sam's attention and he turns back to the drill, and I finish my edge work, and the skate continues, and the world continues, and nothing about it is dramatic. That's the thing about this, that's what I've learned in a year of Sam Calloway letting down walls brick by careful brick. The enormous things are not always enormous looking. Sometimes the most enormous thing that has ever happened between two people looks exactly like a man across an ice rink not looking away. He is still learning how to be seen. I know that. It is not a small thing to learn when you have spent your whole life in the opposite direction, when the walls were built from real materials and load-bearing and you have to take them down carefully or the whole structure goes wrong. He is learning it the way he learns everything, systematically, without rushing, with more patience for himself than I expected and more progress than he'll admit to. But he's learning. And there are things I know now that I didn't know a year ago. I know that he gives me the window seat on every flight now. Not the aisle, his. He takes the aisle seat and he puts me at the window and he has never once in a year mentioned doing it, and I have never once mentioned noticing, and this is our specific private language that no one else needs to be in on. He watches Manitoba from the aisle. I watch the world from the window he gave up for me. I know that he folds his protein bar wrappers into precise squares and leaves them in his jacket pocket until he finds a trash can, and that this bothers no one except him, and that I have started doing it too without noticing, and that Sam noticed me doing it and said nothing but something moved across his face that I am keeping. I know that he laughs with his whole body when no one is watching. Not just the shoulder thing, not just the caught exhale, the full one, the open one, the one that belongs to the person he is when the walls are far enough back that the person has room. I know this because I have been in rooms with him when he forgets to manage it and it gets out, and those are the rooms I would spend my whole life trying to get back to. I know that he loves me. He has not said it. I don't know when he will. I don't know if the word is going to come out cleanly or in pieces or somewhere in the middle of a sentence that wasn't supposed to hold it. I don't know if it's going to happen in a hotel room or a kitchen or an airplane cabin or in the parking lot of a rink on a cold night in November with the snow doing its quiet falling. I know it anyway. I know it the way you know a song before you know its name. Something in the key of it. I know it in the window seat on every single flight, me at the glass, him in the aisle, both of us in the air, going somewhere, the clouds below us and the sky above us and no ceiling on any of it. He gives me the window so I can watch the world. He gives me the things he used to keep for himself, one at a time, carefully, with both hands, the way you give someone something breakable. That's his way of saying it. That's his way of saying everything. It's enough. It's more than enough. It's home. The end. Thank you for reading Boarding Pass. What are the profitable genres, Amazon? Search intent 14 backend ranking keyword. For the above book which customers will type when they're searching on Amazon, no repetition in order to abide by Amazon guidelines. February 22nd. Boarding Pass, Amazon KDP strategy. Profitable genres to target. Based on current Kindle Unlimited and Amazon bestseller data, this book fits strongest into these high-revenue categories. Sports romance is one of the fastest-growing Kindle Unlimited subgenres right now. Hockey specifically outperforms other sports within the category. Slow burn plus forced proximity combinations consistently drive through reads and page read royalties in KU. 14 backend search keywords. No word repeated across all entries, Amazon compliant. Hashtag keyword phrase. 1mm hockey romance novel. 2 gay athlete sports fiction. 3 closeted player coming out. 4 teammates lovers slow burn. 5 forced proximity bisexual men. 6 ice rink falling love. 7 queer contemporary adult book. 8 LGBTQ feelings forbidden steamy. 9 workplace rivals explicit story. 10 professional team chemistry stranded. 11 blizzard snowstorm cabin warmth. 12 locker room bromance emotional. 13 identity acceptance self-discovery. 14 page turner gripping heartfelt read. Keyword strategy notes. Why these work. Each keyword targets a different reader entry point. Some buyers search by trope, forced proximity, slow burn, some by identity, gay, bisexual, LGBTQ, some by setting, hockey, locker room, ice rink, and some by emotional promise, heartfelt, emotional, gripping. Covering all 4 entry points maximizes discoverability without cannibalizing your own ranking through repetition. High-converting tropes for your also bots. The forced proximity plus closeted athlete combination places Boarding Pass directly in the algorithm neighborhood of authors like Rachel Reed and Serena Bowen, whose readers are actively searching for next reads. That adjacency is valuable for organic recommendation placement. KU page read note: slow burn with a coming out arc averages higher page read completion than most subgenres because readers invest in the emotional build. Your 24-chapter structure with the dual POV is well positioned for this. Readers who start both Sam's and Leo's chapters tend to finish. Give me 250 words intriguing. Amazon SEO, search intent. And suspenseful and suitable. Synopsis ending with a question. From the above story. February 22nd. Boarding Pass, Amazon book description. He's built his entire career on silence. One snowstorm is about to tear it all down. Sam Calloway is the Minnesota Frost's most reliable left-winger, controlled, disciplined, and completely closed off. For 12 years he has kept his secret buried beneath perfect stats, protein bar routines, and a professional mask nobody has ever managed to crack. He is excellent at hockey. He is even better at hiding. Leo Vasquez plays right wing on Sam's line and has been openly bisexual since he was 19. He doesn't push. He doesn't pressure. He simply pays attention, and 2 seasons in, he knows Sam better than Sam knows himself. He knows the coffee order, the crossover mechanics, and exactly what that careful silence is protecting. When a blizzard strands their team at a roadside motel with 1 room between them, the distance Sam has been maintaining starts collapsing in ways he cannot rebuild overnight. Snowstorms don't respect walls. Neither does Leo. But just as something irreversible shifts between them, a trade offer surfaces that could move Sam to another city, another team, another life where nobody gets close enough to see anything. And the one man who has always seen him, without asking, without demanding, is watching Sam choose between the cage he knows and the freedom he doesn't. With a leaked photo spreading online, a locker room that doesn't know the whole truth, and a father whose silence has always been the loudest thing in the room, the question is no longer whether Sam loves Leo. The question is whether he loves himself enough to say so. Start your own conversation. Author's note. Dear reader, thank you for spending time with Leo and Sam. Boarding Pass began as a question I couldn't stop turning over: what happens when 2 people who have spent years carefully not looking at each other are suddenly trapped in the same space with nowhere left to hide? Leo's patience and Sam's walls were never opposites, they were 2 people fluent in the same silence, waiting for someone brave enough to break it. The road trip was the heart of this story from the very beginning. I wanted to explore how proximity changes everything, how 2 people who've mastered the art of keeping distance learn what happens when there's no distance left. Every city they passed through stripped away another layer. If this story stayed with you, if Leo's quiet devotion or Sam's hard-won honesty meant something, I would be so grateful if you left a review. Reviews are how independent authors find new readers, and every single one matters more than you know. With gratitude. Arden Blackwell. Acknowledgements. Some books are written in hotel rooms. This one was written in the spaces between cities. To the readers who believed in a slow burn M hockey romance with cancelled flights and shared motel rooms and 2 men too stubborn to say what they meant, thank you. You are the reason Leo and Sam exist outside my head. To every hockey player who ever sat next to someone on a bus for 6 hours and said nothing and meant everything, Leo is yours. And to everyone who ever built walls so carefully they forgot they were also locking themselves in, Sam is yours. And to window seats on long drives, which will always be the best place to watch someone you love without them knowing. Some things are better seen from the side. About the author. Arden Blackwell writes dark romance with sharp edges, complicated men, and characters who refuse to look away. A lifelong devotee of stories where love is neither safe nor simple, Arden Blackwell believes the best fiction lives in the space between what people say and what they mean. Boarding Pass is the 4th novel in the Dark Eye series. When not writing, Arden can be found collecting boarding passes from flights that changed everything, watching hockey with unnecessary emotional investment, and driving long distances with the window down.